We go. All right, all right, all right. Yes, yes, we are back for another live open court discussion in the Counselor's Corner. I'm your host, David Lorenzo Glover, aka the Controversial Counselor. Joining me is my co-host, the Big Bad Wolf, Herb Lewis.
Oh.
It's like a Niagara Falls reunion right
Yes,
here.
sir. Yes, sir.
Currently, we have Eric Gore, EGore, the star player for the 1988 state championship. And you know that post was going around, and people were like, "Oh no, they not the best team. They not this, that's that."
Right, right. Oh, yeah.
Bar none, bar none, the top team, whatever. But that's a whole nother discussion. Let me get through the introduction.
Exactly.
So tonight we will be hosting the Great Debate, and I'm not speaking on the original Great Debate in 1920 between Heber Curtis and Harlow Shapley. I'm not sure what they were debating about, and at this point, not sure if I care. I do know what the Great Debate September 25th is about: EGore and Syr Tyce, stemming from going back and forth in the counselor's corner regarding the existence of racism. EGore and Syr Tyce took verbal jabs at each other, one after another, for some time. I let it build up, and until finally saying it's time to hold this conversation live in the counselor's corner. They both will open up with an open statement, and myself and her will alternate asking questions. Each question, they both will have 3 minute time limit to answer and articulate the point. I am certain this will be better than Errol the True Spence and Terrence Bud Crawford fight. Please like and share our video and subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Controversial Counselor. So we here, no Syr Tyce. Man, it ain't looking good. It's not looking good. I don't know where he's at, but he usually pops in. Maybe he gonna come through in a parachute or something. But we hear what's going on, fellas. How y'all doing?
I'm doing all right, Dave. Thank you for having me, man.
Oh, no problem. All day long. I love to have my
Thank you
people
for
here.
having me, my guy. Thank you for thinking
Man,
enough of me, man, to have me on the show. I appreciate that.
it's always a pleasure, privilege, and honor to sit with members of the brown, gold, and white
Hey,
high school championship team. I was
hey,
just a fan, so only thing I can do is gravy train, but I'm gonna gravy train. God damn it, because that's what I do.
that's what I do. That's what I
But
do.
in all actuality, it's 9 o'clock. Do we know where Sir Tyce is? Come
Yeah.
on, man. Come on, man. Don't do like your Michigan State boys disappear, man. Come on now. Come on
Uh,
now.
yeah, let me say hello to my wife. Hey, babe.
Yes.
She told me to drop the robe because I was just gonna come with the robe. You know how I do.
Great call, Lisa. Great call. Great call.
I mean, she's like, "Oh, wear one of your shirts." Ah, okay, babe. I wore one of my shirts. Here we go.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, fancy. Giving shouts out to my sister. Oh, and
This
also,
season,
yeah.
next season.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
So we hear what's going on, Syr
Represent
Tyce.
Detroit.
Hey, can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, we hear
Good
you.
evening, my
Yes,
man.
we can
Hey,
now.
good evening, fellas. Hey, yo, bear with me. See, I'm dealing with a
Okay.
little bit of sickness. Hold on one second.
So, anyways, before you come on, so what's been going on? What's new in your world?
Man, you already know.
Man,
The grind continues.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, the grind continues.
yeah, man. Finally getting stuff together to finish up my garage. So hopefully by the end of next month, that's
Uh-oh.
done, out of the way. Moving on
Uh-oh.
to another home improvement thing. So
Hey.
I actually started sanding the floors upstairs in my room because it's too cumbersome to get a machine here. So I'm doing that, man. And hey, then I'm getting ready to put together my workout room so I can get rid of the 70 pounds the additional 70 pounds that I'm carrying around. So
Single
December
car.
10th
Is it a single car or double car?
this year, I'm trying to be back down to about 215 pounds.
Yeah,
215, huh?
Is your
All
car
right.
single?
Yes,
Is your
sir.
single car? Is your garage single car or double car?
Double.
Double. Okay. Real quick. See, I knew Eric would try to kill me had I called out or whatever, but right here, I'm negative or whatever. I am feeling under the weather. I took my COVID test.
I hear you, man. I hear you. No disrespect.
So,
I hear it.
So, you may hear my voice crack a little, but I'm negative or whatever. And let you know there's 2 football games tonight. I would rather be playing dominoes or whatever. But I gotta lay it down.
Good.
I gotta lay it down tonight or what have you. So I'll let you do all the introductions. Let me get my glass and because I just got my water bottle here. But feel free to do your introductions and we can get started. If it's a coin flip, I'll let the brother even go first. If you want to do a coin flip,
Respect. Listen, because we already did the introductions.
So if y'all wanted to do your opening statement, if you have one.
Dave, you know me, I don't mind going first. That's, you know what I mean?
Well, go ahead, drop it.
Well, here it is. Let's see. I will be concise but brief with such a delicate subject like our history and the direction I think we as people should go. Brief history. Freedom, justice, and equality. Inalienable rights granted to every human being born on American soil. So we thought until history began uncovering hitting truth about our so-called land of the free and home of the brave. These words became a fallacy to Africans who, for hundreds of years, toiled the land, picked its crops, and made it one of the richest countries on earth, but denied the very thing that made them human, which were freedom, justice, and equality. Abraham Lincoln gave our ancestors a taste of freedom in 1863 with the Emancipation Proclamation. But before they could enjoy a morsel of it, they had to wait an additional 2 years, 1865, before Southern whites relinquished the reins to let them free. Again, let's be clear. They still did not have the inalienable rights Europeans so casually flaunted. Now, one would say they were free, but I contend how? After 400 plus years of free labor, they were released with just the clothing on their back, no tools, no land, and no economic base to survive on their own. And our government offered no assistance, but they did create laws that would falsely accuse men and women of crimes that would ultimately incarcerate them, returning them to a horror of slavery they were freed from. 13th Amendment. Fast forward, our ancestors, being the resilient people we are, began building and creating goods and services that offered them a footing in American economy. They built and ran towns, churches, hospitals, banks, and schools until it appeared they were doing better than the Europeans among them. So what do you think? So what do you think they did?
Come on, brother, you wrote this.
Yeah, I know. I'm just looking. I'm sorry.
So what you did?
They aiming to keep blacks in their place. Excuse me, aiming to keep blacks in their place. They destroying every positive step blacks had made, reducing their achievements to rubble. Excuse me. The fight would continue for equality, one of the inalienable rights. Many died trying to obtain freedom, justice, and equality, but the fight continues. This brings us to why we are here today, discussing racism and its continuation here in America and abroad. Does it still exist? I would contend it does, and in covert and overt ways.
All right. Yeah, think about all
that.
that.
I appreciate that. I heard that.
You wrote
that. Come on, my brother.
May I have the screen share? I didn't say anything.
No.
Matt,
I was speaking to her.
Matt, have the screen share, please.
She
Counselor.
said, "Could you add a screen share?"
Yes.
You know me. I don't be doing all that technology stuff.
I'll ask. It'll tell you. I'll tell you when you'll see a signal. Yet I'm not sharing just yet, but just stand by. I'll just do the whole window.
Okay.
Who cares? And by the way, just to kill some of the time in the dead air, good evening again to you all. Like I said, I was talking to my lady friend, my lady friend that one of the members of your group swears that I don't have, or whatever, right? I was talking to her, and she was insisting that I take one of these tests. But I'm very leery on all of these things, and what have you. Not that I'm a conspiracy theorist or anything like that, but it should be sharing any moment right now. Just give me a second. If it says window, you should see it right there, or what have you, right? But anyways, I was literally waiting for the results, and she was just texting me like, "Can you let me know what it said?" And I'm like, "Oh shit, I completely forgot about that," So nonetheless, I'm good. And again, pardon the tone of my voice, brother Eric. I don't mean to go in on you personally, but I will.
Do your thing, man. Do your thing.
I want to thank you guys for doing this. I didn't realize that we were going to turn this into Black historical fun facts. I can play that game. This is a great book called When We Ruled. It's by Robin Walker. It talks about all of the great continent and all 56 countries, not just the few ones on the West Coast, many people only discuss. Then we can go into my man Dr. Claude Anderson, Black labor, white wealth, and what have you. Then we can go into a super liberal who I do not agree with on anything politically, but he gave some information about sundown towns. I put up a challenge to anyone. Hey, show me these modern sundown towns. We can go to some of them listed right now, and I'll be happy to walk through them right now, what have you. I'm not discounting the past or anything like that. Lastly, this is another great Claude Anderson book when he was saying, when Eric was saying some things about some of the things that we've accomplished. I just want him to know that he's not dealing with somebody that's just not knowledgeable. I had a minor in history and in Black history, when I was in school. So I'm very, very familiar with a lot of even the unflattering stuff that many of us don't want to talk. But that wasn't the whole point of this discussion. One of the things that triggered me with Brother Eric was this. What I'm going to show you is a compilation of some videos that I saw from your very Consular Corners group. What happened right here, because everything that I'm saying, I'm going to document with facts, okay? Because I'm going to talk, my whole point of contention is that this so-called white, I'm looking directly in the camera, that this so-called white boogeyman is exactly why the collective is not accomplishing things. It has nothing to do with they're holding us back. He made a point about they're preventing us and all this. I'm going to tell you, when you get rid of that boogeyman mindset, you will thrive. But let's just go back real quick. I've been seeing this brother post, and I usually come on these forums. People think I'm trolling or you gotta live with the white man and all this. No, I just rarely ever hear a perspective that I think needs to be heard from upstanding Black men who do not bow down to anybody, don't kowtow, but who's willing to challenge the status quo. I rarely ever see that, especially in social media, which has been a tool used to promote social degeneracy. If you want proof, look at all the viral videos that many of us, because this black skin means everything, that many of us promote. Okay, we promote more of that than all of the accomplishments that we do nowadays. Tell me if I'm wrong. But that said, in this thread, now we know Andre Hill's another one of the kind of troll posters in a sense or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And damn it, that video won't play here. But basically, I have a collection of things. Actually, it will play. Duh, I have to hit the play button. This video was, remember that one viral controversy where there was a graduation happening in a Sunni school, and the lady was literally just reading off the names. And this one belligerent woman grabs the microphone. Right? This is something that's not racial at all, but it was just deliberately made racial. And the crazy thing about this story was one of the people who was getting a graduation, or getting his sheepskin, came on a panel that I was on and showed proof that he was. He was like, it wasn't anything like that or what have you, right? But I'm just going to play the video. And I'm scrolling down into the topic now that I'm telling you this whole story because that whole stunt wasn't necessary. Forget my comment. Eric, determined to not let us succeed, Neanderthals. Wait a minute, Eric. It's my turn to talk. Eric, they already succeeded. She's just mentioning off the names, but you didn't even have the full information and you're going off the handle. But wait, there's more. So we have a simple thread from Miss Vicky Moore. Women cheat on accident, men cheat to hurt us. A typical troll topic in a group between black men with men and women. And as we scroll through the topic, we see, lo and behold, this is a European act and Africans shouldn't participate. Wait a minute. She's asking about simplistic so-called cheating. Cheating could be flirting for some couples. But to act like that's just exclusive behavior to one group. And also, let me say this also to you, Eric. That term European, you got to stop it. I know many of you see all of Europe as the one saying, but go and call a Russian a white motherfucker and see will you be in a fight. Go call a Ukrainian white and see will you be in a fight or what have you, right?
They are all Neanderthals, my guy.
No, okay. And then there was a topic where, I know that this one guy named Syr Tyce, you might have heard of him. I put up, hey, what topic do you want to see taught in school? He says racism, as if racism is going to give kids the skills that they need nowadays. This doesn't mean that they shouldn't be knowledgeable about the past, but come on, of all the things, we got kids, and boy, am I going to touch on this one. We got kids that don't even read at their grade level, and I mean in 70 and 80%. And we're talking about racism, but wait, again, there's more. John Morant, right? Memphis' finest. Wow. This was the first incident, okay? When he was showing the gun in, I shouldn't say, well, forget it. I think we all liked him. In the titty bar, when he was just doing this, whatever, right? Now, being ignorant, he went in later on, a month later, repeated this issue, and people are just talking, man, what was the issue? And like clockwork, Eric's gonna come in and say, hold on, I gotta remove this. He says, as soon as they gave it to the plot and began on him, it got back. Wait, let me read that again. As soon as they gave it to him, the plot began on how to get it back from him. In other words, he's talking about the so-called bad. The young buck lacked common sense. But if he was a white boy, it would be explained away. Nothing to see here. Okay, well, we actually saw that it was something to see here because it was a pattern of behavior when he got caught with another gat in his friend's car, showing it on Instagram, okay? And again, like I said, I have more. I have more. I'm not going to keep going through them all. I'm making a point that's going to tie into my greater point of what the discussion was regarding, and that is this. So a question was asked. Again, this has nothing to do. All Brother Dane asked was, he just asked for examples. I look at things as these are ways to trigger discussions. So sometimes I may give a long explanation. Sometimes I may just throw something out there, right? And he's basically asking, how does a boy become a man from 18? Basically, when a father's not present, what are some things that can get him into masculinity? That's his general question. Lo and behold, here comes Eric. I disagree with that. I don't need no white dudes picking my face with slave master direction, sir. That's it. All of the military
that's what it is.
Filled with white men, or what have you. It's just with white men going around. Listen, boy, I need those. Come on, man. You watch too many movies. So, as I go on into this, I'm going to show another video. Let's see if this shows on my screen, if it goes blank, or did I just share this the wrong way? I'm going to stop the share for right now and just speak because I'm going to have What's the talking point? You're just talking damn. And whoever
But we know we have a series of questions for you gentlemen to
Yeah,
answer,
yeah,
so
whoever, and whoever is asking that, they can kiss my black ass. Okay, I don't need their support. The second thing is what I'm saying is that Brother Eric is making racism out of where it doesn't even exist, which tells you that the white man and this mythical thing just exists in his head when it doesn't.
exists.
Now, I'm going to use examples citing history along with not just anecdotal things, various statistics, and then we're just going to get in a casual discussion. That was kind of one of my opening statements, but the main thing is I find it very interesting, and I'll end on this one. And then if y'all want to start questions or you want me to get in my spiel, we can. I find it very interesting in these very social media type of things. They will pick out the very surface things to talk about when it comes to racism. But when it comes to things that directly affect Black people, talking about our students and this anti-intellectualism that goes on, talking about the homicide, not police brutality, not racism at the job, but homicide being the number one thing that's going to kill a Black person, especially between the ages of 15 to 25, very mum on that. And whereas I want to attack the problem, lastly, I'll end on this, because everybody says, you like to point out the problem, but you don't have no solutions. I'm going to give you 3 or 4 points of solutions at the end. Even though you don't believe the same values I do, that's why I think the solutions discussion is more of a distraction, but I'm going to give practical solutions. That's my opening statement.
Can I ask a quick question, please? Let me ask a quick question, Dave.
Go ahead.
Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Secure?
Syr Tyce.
Syr Tyce. Okay, man. Yeah.
Hold on.
Sir.
Hold on. If we're going to start there, and I know you weren't throwing an insult, but if you can't read, sir, either sire or something. Hey, man. Come on, dog. It's pretty simple, but go ahead.
No disrespect. But I just wanted to ask a quick question. But do you think that Black issues should be handled in-house, or do you think they should be out in public?
If the disrespect happens in public, then I don't see a difference in handling it in public or in-house, quite frankly. What is the difference in saying, you know what should be handled in-house? Family issues. Just like my mother would tell me or my father would tell me, hey, this stays within family. You don't even tell your cousins this business. All this other things, we can have half-naked ass rappers talking nonsense or whatever in public. And then now, no, you should let the white man know. As if the white man is the fucking standard. That's what that just kills me right there. But that answers your question simply. You can take it off of this. He's a paid supporter, so you can't hold up Sub-Zero or whatever. Sub-Zero is a paid supporter, of mine.
All right. So we're gonna start off, and I got the timer out. So. And I was thinking that y'all have 2 or 3 minutes to answer the question. So I'm gonna ask a question, and then you both have opportunity to answer. Then Herb ask, and then we'll go about that until we feel like okay, it's time to cut it off. So the first one I want to start off, and I know this is going on, and Herb often speaks of this and saying how the impact it's going to have. So what are your thoughts concerning affirmative action, and do you consider it racist?
He didn't go first. He went first last time, so he can take that one. If you want, I can go. If you don't want to have it. No,
go ahead. Good.
Okay. Repeat the last part of the question about affirmative action.
I said, what are your thoughts concerning affirmative action, and do you consider it racist?
I can take off my readers. I can speak this. Affirmative action mostly benefited white women. Go look that up or what have you.
Correct.
Look at mini Google or whatever. Affirmative action primarily benefited white women. So this recent case between the Supreme Court and I believe it was Harvard, but basically Asians, many people misinterpreted. And this is the thing that Brother Eric mentioned when he used these buzzwords of freedom, justice, equality. These are all communist words or what have you, but I'll touch on that later. we hear terms like affirmative action and we instantly think of us. We think of Black people. When the reality of the recent case, it was overqualified Asians whose numbers were basically being siphoned off or silent not silenced, basically they were basically cut off, and the word I want to use is escaping me, but they couldn't get into Harvard or various Ivy League institutions, even though they had the grades to get in, whereas other groups, even if they didn't have the grades, they had a higher percentage to get in. So it's like you're asking a group of people, hey, we got to be better than better, and we still don't get a chance. Right now, because affirmative action, when it was originally instituted right after the Great Society Act of 1964, pardon me, you'll constantly hear me refer to this, and I want everybody to be familiar with this if they're not, but by the time they leave. But after that affirmative action came in, it had good intentions, but like most things, and this is why I'm not a big fan of these agendas, is that they get co-opted, shoehorned, whatever word you like to use, and other groups take hand on them. Thank you. There's one right there. So that's my point. I'm glad it's gone away. Now, when I've been at jobs and they could never say that I was an affirmative action hire because my work showed that I wasn't an affirmative action hire. I understand some Black people may be sensitive to this, and some Black people may say, well, how else do you expect us to want to be put on at these places if they're discriminating with us? Go to somewhere else. If you have skills and you have talent in this era, hey, if one company's racist, you have another company that do. That's my thoughts on that.
Now listen, I'm gonna concur with what he just said, because I'm glad they got rid of it. You know what I mean? Because we stand on our own. It's like, yo, you can't keep telling me that I got this position because affirmative action. I'm just as talented as you. I got just as many skills as you. I'm able to do the job. So why would you try to hang that around my neck about affirmative action? I'm glad they got rid of it. Because again, it was just being hijacked. That's all. So I concur with this man.
All
right.
All right. To follow up that question, do you think it's the individual's decision making among Black people or the system that keeps us as a people back?
It's the system. It's all written. It's written. The Constitution is written, and they still don't want to redo it. That's just one of my suggestions as we move forward, that this whole system needs to be redone. Right? We can't hear you, big dog. We can't hear you.
Oh, he got it.
You got it.
Right there is that communist point. Right there. You need to overhaul a system because you found 2 points that don't benefit you. For the great Frederick Douglass basically used the Constitution to exactly explain to Abraham Lincoln, like, hey, you're talking about this. What it says is liberty. You know, I can't remember the exact things, what have you, that he was referring to. I can pull it out in a second. But he was saying, you can't do this and then say this. And that's how he went worldwide with what he was preaching, basically saying, hey, if this is the land of liberty, as you say, now we have various things in the Constitution, you know, all men created equal and things of that nature. But then people love to go back to the 3/5 of man, and they don't understand with the context of what that is. The context of what that wasn't you Blacks are this 3/5. It was about population used for Congress and what have you at the time for population. It wasn't necessarily race-based. And also, now, this whole thing about come on. There's a reason why, thank you to your beloved liberals, that 4,000 people are crossing rivers every day to come here because they have, you know, freedom of speech, movement, things that many people now supposedly oppose. Wait till you get into that gulag. You're going to really realize how free you are, or you know, how free you wish you had it. He says that the system is rigged. The system is not rigged to 13% of the population, especially when you factor in that the average so-called Caucasian earns I have this figure here, $62,000, okay, a year. The average Black person earns $50,000. I'm combining men and women's salaries. Neither of those are the bottom. Neither of those are the top wage. So why in the hell, if you have a rigged system, would the powers that be rig it so that they're not on top if that's the case? Now, am I saying that all things are equal? And again, pardon my voice or what have you. Am I saying that all things are equal? Absolutely not. But if you've never been to any other country and where you didn't take a cruise ship on, you have no idea how well you have it here. I have been to multiple countries in the great continent of Africa, and I've seen more corruption with my own eyes than you would believe. And this is not for me to belittle Africa or Ghana, Nigeria, where I've been. I would actually like to reside there at certain times. But to act like it's going to be somewhere that's better with more resources, you're out of your friggin' mind. You can challenge your government. In many countries, just this mere conversation right now, we would be shut down. So I'll end it right there.
All right.
And thank you, brother, with the median salary that I was saying exactly. I want a distinction between the average and the median. So thank you.
All right. So here's another question. Do you think it's racist to believe there are some biological differences between races?
I don't have a strong opinion of this, but I do not. You're going to have, listen, there's a reason why people say, forget, I don't like to use the sports thing because people will focus on the obvious football and American football and basketball. But there's a reason why Kenyan runners, for example, are leaps and bounds ahead of everyone else. One, the elevation. Two, their diet. Okay, that is a that is a physical advantage. And then also, just like I believe it's in the Sudan, the average person or the average man is like 5'10", 5'11". They're very tall individuals, but they're not the most coordinated, right? Which is why there's not a lot of sports success, So I guess, yeah, you can say that there are certain advantages. Now, when it gets into things like intelligence and brain size, that's something I've never believed in, because if that's the case, there's various mammals whose brain size is much bigger than man, but they don't have the same mental capabilities that we have.
Eric, you got anything you want to add to that?
No, Dave.
All right. Herb.
You do.
All right, fellas. Finish the sentence. The most unprotected people in America is
African Americans. And I should say Africans and Africans that reside in America, unprotected. How the hell you gonna give an Asian bill to protect Asians and we're yet to receive one? George Floyd, we're still waiting for his bill to pass.
Because you didn't campaign for it, and all you accepted was and all you accepted was you ain't black if you don't vote for me. Versus those other people, they put their money where their mouth is. I'm going to answer the question.
Okay, I want to refute that madness, because again, like how Congress works. If you don't have votes, you're not gonna get nothing passed.
Yeah, but
so they're not gonna pass nothing, man. It sounds like you're a Republican, my friend.
If I was a Republican, what difference would that make?
What I'm saying to you, they ain't doing nothing for us. Now there's a Democrat.
No,
we're not getting nothing done.
Expect a political party to do for you is part of the problem, which is why many people vote for
liberals. That's our system. What are you talking about?
Hear me out on this. I'm going to answer the original question.
That's our system. What are you talking about?
No.
We elect these dudes.
What you have to understand about the difference between conservatism and liberalism is very simple. Conservatism, no, it doesn't try to conserve things for what it is.
Man, it's about money.
Stop it. No.
Y'all gotta have one person got to talk at a time. Then you can kind of follow.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm sorry.
African Americans.
Stop that nonsense. It's about money.
Right, he said African Americans, right? Brother.
Africans. Africans reside in America.
Brother Herb. Ask the question again. Brother Herb, ask the question.
Finish the sentence. The most unprotected people in America is
children, hands down. Between trafficking, between horrific parents, between what goes on in school with teachers who don't give a shit. with variety of the crimes that we see, it is children. And it's also especially children of single parents. Okay. You can pick your race. I don't have to make this.
Oh, you pick your
It's
race. Okay.
children. No one cares about the children unless it makes the news.
Children. Okay.
Would you like to see, the child trafficking statistics?
Well, let me add something.
Violence?
Man,
Let me add something to that for a moment, fellas. I think what Syr Tyce is getting at is we tend to focus on adult issues.
okay.
All the while in the shuffle, the things that primarily affect kids, now we're looking at whether or not a child can choose their gender. Things that a generation ago didn't exist. Children were considered to be the primary reason why we are around as adults, is to shepherd them into adulthood. Now it seems things are reversed and they're trying to grow us as opposed to us growing them. So I understand what Syr Tyce was saying, and that's why I left the question open.
I'll expound briefly on that. Very simple. Okay, I don't care what your what do you even call it? Your orientation is, but to expose. This is why family friendly drag hour. We're trying to expose kids to all this stuff when they still have a developing young mind. Oh wait, maybe that's why they're trying to expose them to this, so that it doesn't seem odd, so that they're used to it later. That's it. Okay. We're exposing children to all of this ridiculous behavior, and we don't think that it's going to have an impact. Then you complain about, okay, 10 years ago, Sexy Red was barely even in high school. Now look at her being paraded around. It's nothing for a woman to have tattoos on her face or anything like that. Or parents say, hey, hold on, sweetheart. That's not a good look. And no, I'm not going to say, oh, you can't get a job on it, all this, whatever. No, I'm just meaning, we're now, it's like, they are just what they are. Now it's the Wild West. Basically, the toothpaste is out of the tube. Yes, we don't care about our children. And lastly, the mafia, the black guerrilla families, your various black crime networks, your Irish mafia, you couldn't touch old people and children. They were off limits. You did that, it was on. Now people do not care. So that's why I say it's children.
Let me add to that. And one of the things, one of educators I had worked for, he had mentioned, he said, typically when a kid makes a mistake or they do something wrong, it's probably after effect of an adult decision. Meaning that a lot of times when kids do something, it's something that an adult probably did prior that led to it. Case in point, we can think about the example of when parents say, and we all say that, somebody put their hands on you, you better knock them out, or whatever the case is. In certain situations like fire school, that may not always have to be the case. But when you set that as a standard, that kids, they absorb that and say, well, my mom or dad said if somebody do this or whatever, to knock them out or do whatever, and it may not even be equal. Like, you had to do all that, and this situation wasn't warranted. So sometimes, like I said, a lot of times it's adult decisions that kind of impact kids to making wrong decisions.
You guys got your next question, or?
Oh yeah, we got.
I mean, if you got one, we can. I'm sure, Brother Eric has something he wants to say.
Listen, man, I hear a lot of Republican talking points. That's what I hear.
Okay, I'm glad you said that. So what did I say? What did I say? I love these. You just said it. I love these. Oh, 1 second. What you just said. Okay, I forgot to say this in my preamble, but I'm going to say it again. We're going to hear a lot of straw manning. We're going to see a lot of red herrings, and we're going to see a lot of ad hominems. There was your first ad hominem or whatever, right? Actually, it's your third or what have you, Now, what exactly is a Republican talking point when I talked about the children being.
Just said it, my guy.
What
Just
was
said
what did I just say?
being kids manipulated. You just said the kids being manipulated into all of this sex stuff.
Okay, how is that a Republican talking point when that's actually
Because man, that's their
how
talking
is that
point.
a Republican talking point when that is actually happening in
Yes.
many schools? Is that not happening in many schools?
Listen,
Yes or no? Do we see a LGBTQ indoctrination being happening in public schools?
LBGQ. See, yeah, okay, again.
No,
there you
that's
go.
what they refer to themselves as, right? So you're saying that there's not a push for rainbow flags in public schools, right?
Listen, man, I'm not with that. I'm not with that. I'm not with that
So,
initiative
if
anyway.
I'm referring to something that is actually happening, why are you reducing it to a mere ad hominem of a so-called Republican talking point to try to attempt to deflect away
Because
from?
that's what you guys are doing, my guy.
Okay. I'm sure the audience can recognize. Okay, do you have something you'd like to say? Just in general.
Not on that.
Now, see, had I known he could bring cigars, I would have brought my whole kit.
Well, yeah, well, listen, man, you at your own house. You was under the weather. That's all up to you.
Yeah, you do it.
I mean, you under the weather.
So, Eric, when you say Republican talk, could you elaborate?
I'm just saying that's a Republican talking point. That's all they're talking about.
Okay,
About the
that's all.
Democrats,
That's all.
the kids, they pushing LBGQ, the flag, all that nonsense, man.
I am not a registered Republican. Oh, I'm sorry. I am not a Republican. I would lean more conservative because I damn sure don't think there's anything on the left that's for heterosexual black men that anybody could ride with. By the way, did you guys hear today about Biden called what did he say? LL Boy J.
Idiot.
But shout out to him, he corrected himself. All right, here's the serious point I really want to lay down before I pull out the charts. Okay, I'll even go into the solutions early. What we have right now, I am talking about black people stateside. Okay. I'm excusing. I don't get into all that FBA ADOS stuff or whatever, right? That's not me. Go to somebody else. I think we're already too divided as is. And also, you're never going to have a group of people that are going to be totally united or what have you. But I'm just saying it just for the sake of understanding. And by the way, what become black problems also become country problems of others in the country. Okay. I think
Explain that.
I'm glad you asked. I'm going to explain it. Basically, Black America is largely a social experiment, or what have you. Yeah, I know that sounds crazy, right? You're reducing all of Black America to a social experiment. Not exactly, but we're kind of the petri dish, if you will. They'll throw little certain things there and see the effect of it, and then they'll do it large scale. Just like after the Great Society, when people love to say, I'm sure even you will be on this in this camp, Eric. When people love to say, they took the fathers out the crib. That's not exactly how it happened, but part of getting public assistance after the Great Society Act was signed in 1964, and the real name of it is the War on Poverty. And I'm saying this for the audience who may not be familiar with these terms.
Right.
Okay. Part of it was a man could not be in the household to receive those benefits. Okay. Now, what this means, this does not apply to every Black household because every Black household didn't sign up for public assistance. Okay. Now, those that did, even there was a cat and mouse game between the man being home and not. You can go see the great movie with the great Diane Carroll and James Earl Jones, Claudine, and show that little cat and mouse games. And I've said this on the Brother Sub-Zero.
Saw that the other night.
Yeah, I saw this. I said this on the Brother Sub-Zero 3639. Please check out his channel. We light it up every day nearly. When I was 10 to 12, my auntie was a social worker, and up until the mid 80s, we would do house visits to check if there was a man at home. And I would be there just to get McDonald's back when it was quality or whatever. You know, you would go to work with your aunt or whatever for a day or whatever. And she would be like, look to see if there's man stuff. And I'm like, what am I supposed to look for? She's like, look for what your father would have or whatever. And we had like a little signal, we'll give a little head nod or not. And she had her way of dealing with these people. She's like, look, I know somebody's in here. I'm not going to report it and all this. But I say to say this. These were choices that people make. But back to your original question of, I was just saying that story, by the way, to say that I really know this intimately. But we are largely in a group where benign neglect, another fancy term that was used by Daniel Patrick Moynihan. I'm sure you all have heard of the Moynihan report. Mm-hmm. After he studied Black people to a T and damn near predict everything that we're going on right now, 60 years ago, he also wrote Nixon in 1971 says, we need to have a little benign neglect happen. Benign neglect is a fancy word for just ignore it. Just ignore it. Let it fester, which I would think is fine because we showed previous decades before that we can do it on our own. Unfortunately, we let nefarious characters let our values go down to where it's, no, we will let this group come in. They got the solution, even though it went against all of our practical solutions. And you see how these dominoes fall with this group, and you can implement it against the masses. So that's what I'm referring to when I said the social experiment. But damn it, you got me away from my main point. Do you have any rebuttals to what I just said?
Well, bring it. No, I want to give a shout out to Marcy because Marcy hit it on the nail. She was like lack of supervision of boundaries from their parents. So yeah, we want to give her a shout out for that one. Now,
shout out to Marcia or Marcia. What's her name?
Marcia.
Shout out to her. I will say this though: when families had more, and this is not to discount what she's saying, but when families had more children, there tended to be more discipline also. So it was not uncommon between the 60s and the 70s for a family to have 8 and 9 children. I'm assuming we're all around the same age. We know people, if that wasn't our family, that had those things. And there were things, sometimes the mother and the father worked all day, but you couldn't bring home bad grades or you would get so I think that we just let our standards get lower, which ties perfectly into the point that I'm going to make. I'm going to read a little something here. It's something I wrote a couple years ago. Many Black Americans are victims of passive breeding. This means that some Black couples have more children than they can possibly care for psychologically or emotionally, especially socioeconomically. Studies have confirmed that children born into large families receive less individualized healthcare. I'm referring to now as opposed to before. But where I segue this into this, the passive parenting, you heard that word, you heard it from me first. The passive parenting, you weren't a planned child or whatever, right? And yeah, there's some oops babies. Let's not act like, let's keep it 100, right? But even on the oops babies, it's like, damn, we have a child now. What are we going to do to make sure that this child has the best that they have to offer, that we can put forward versus, we'll just let things happen as they are. And what has unfortunately happened is passive parenting has gone into passive education. You the teacher, you teach them. I'm sure you've never heard these terms, Mr. Counselor, right? I'm sure
that all the time,
never
all the time.
And for those of you in the audience, he's a guidance counselor or whatever, right?
School counselor. We don't go by that name. We don't do that shit.
What kind of counselor?
School counselor, but I'm DC of school counseling.
So what I'm saying is that I'm trying to overcome these issues. Listen, ain't nobody throwing Black people. They're not throwing it to. They're not even throwing the Asian people. The only reason why they is because it economically benefits them. Nobody throwing us a safety net. Okay, what are we going to be able to do within ourselves to do this? And I am the person who, because I say Republican talking points. No, I just address the problem as is. If I got a burning building, I can't be like, oh, was it the smoke? Was it the sticks that he got? Was it the toaster? No, I want to put this fire out. We figure out what it was, and then we figure out how to prevent this in the future. And I'm trying to attack the problem head on. I'm going to criticize us. because somebody has to do it. It would be no different than your parents if you brought home some bad grades or did something bad at the end of the day. They're not going to be like, oh, you know what? It's because of the legacy of slavery you did that. You don't have any control over your actions. You can't do that or what have you. But passive parenting is why we're here to this day.
I just want to say, with no disrespect, my guy, with no disrespect, but you sound like
it's disrespect. It's disrespect what you're gonna say. Please just say it.
No disrespect, man, but you sound like Scott. You sound like Scott over there on the Republican, man. He sounds just the same way, man. You're talking about the same thing. I mean, y'all share notes.
Are you familiar with ad hominem? Do you know exactly what that means? Okay, let's. I mean, if you want to do some station
man, we getting away from the points. We getting away from the whole.
I was like, no, we're not. We're definitely not. We are definitely not.
Racism still exists in America.
We definitely are not. We definitely are not.
You definitely not getting away from that.
Ad hominem, sir. Attacking a person's character or motivations rather than a position or argument.
I'm not attacking you.
This is exactly what you've done 3 times now. Now, what you're doing is what's called a logical fallacy. And
I'm just saying to you.
Okay, no.
You got a lot of Republican talking points.
What in my so-called Republican talking points?
You're not in touch with the people, man. You're speaking above their head. And you tell the dude. Again, a Republican. You're speaking above people's head. Like, talk to the people, man. Stop talking at them, man. I'm saying you're talking. You're talking above these people's head and stuff like that. You're not really talking.
Hold on for a moment, gentlemen. Hold on for a moment. Let me ask this question, man. You said he needs to speak to the people.
To the people, yes.
When you say to the people, what people are you referencing?
Herb, I can only say
specific.
I have to be specific. I can only say Africans reside in America.
Okay. Now, Syr Tyce, when you speak publicly, is that your core audience?
Publicly about what? What we just talked about?
Anything. Doesn't matter what it is.
I talk to who I'm talking to. If he says not talking to the people, I clearly reference using a parental example of how if you do something wrong, your mama, your daddy is going to slap the shit out of you or what have you. How I used to be when I was explaining passive parenting. I was also saying how things were. How the hell this is a Republican talking point, I have no idea.
So let me add to that. So I think with that whole Republican Democrat thing, is it possible that you're going to say some things that may sound Republican and maybe some things that say maybe Democratic? I think nothing is absolute. Like, you're an individual. So I don't think we should be lumped into certain of those groups, because if somebody asks me, what are you? Like, I don't follow none of that shit. It's all crap. It's all cat to me. But
respectfully, brother Dave, we're supposed to have a discussion, a detailed discussion about the issues. If there's something like everything he said that I disagree, I will pick it apart where I disagree with, where we agree with. He said speak to the people. The main point I said in my last thing was talking about basically passive parenting. Now, this is a good segue to my next point, but I'm going to let this brother get something off because I would like to refill my beverage, but I can still hear you guys. You're free to, unless you two guys have a question. We hate dead air.
Oh, we was just trying to see where y'all was going with this.
Just a friendly.
I see him.
Why do you have a cat, man? You just gave me some bad luck.
He been having cats on this show, Syr Tyce. Where you been?
I know. I like to tell him that all the time.
Syr Tyce.
For the same reason you root for Detroit. I'm a cat man. Cats are so much easier to take care of, man. When I go out of town for 2 or 3 days, I have to worry about it. I don't have to kennel them.
I got you. Don't forget your question. I'm listening. Don't forget your question. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah. The larger question, and I pose this to each one of you gentlemen, you can answer individually. Is there a need for reparations? And if so, what does that look like and what form does that come in?
Of course there is. Of course there is. And it needs to be.
What does that look like? How is that metered out?
Oh, it looks like monetary as well as money as well as land. All that stuff needs to be given back. I mean, that's exactly what they're fighting for now in Africa. Give back the land that's not yours.
And how do you propose that Congress actually goes about making that happen?
They're not going to. Congress. They're not going to. The same point I was given earlier. They're not going to, because the way Congress is set up, you have to have a certain amount of votes to actually pass things, and that issue will never get the attention it needs because it hasn't gotten it in all of these years. We're talking 400 plus. I mean, we're still talking 400 plus years, and we still haven't gotten anything.
But all right, let me slide this in there, backdoor, no pun intended. You realize that the best chance that we have for reparations was Trump. Hold on. That's why when you talk about Republican talking points and you're trying to attack Syr Tyce on that particular point, you undercut your argument. Democrats do not want to see that. Republicans don't care, provided that they don't have to pay for it individually. And this has always been the issue with reparations, is who's going to be made to pay for it. Because corporate America doesn't want to, because corporate America doesn't feel they should. That's why I asked, what does it look like? I'm not opposed to it. I'm not necessarily for it.
He's answering. I'm
sorry, go ahead, Syr Tyce.
Okay, thank you, but you kind of almost like, well, let me say this. Can you ask the question, because you said something about the need for reparations. So I want you to state it exactly how you stated it.
Reparations. Is there a cause for it? And if so, what does that look like when it's paid out?
Is there a cause for it or cost for it?
Cause, C-A-U-S-E.
Cause. So Eric, Japanese in internment camps got reparations, right?
Right.
Okay. How much did they get? I
don't have those figures in front of me, my guy.
Take a guess.
I know they did receive. I know they received funds.
Okay. Do you either have a guess on how much or how many people got it?
I think it's like 150,000 a person.
It's 80,000. Okay.
80,000.
80,000 people got it. Okay. Guys, want to take a guess? Dave, you're free to guess also.
No, I'm gonna look at the chat. Somebody said 5K.
Somebody said what?
Who said that?
Sub-Zero.
Okay.
Sub-Zero.
All right. To answer Brother Herb's question, is there a cause for reparations? I would like to say, even though HR 40, I believe the name of it is, and I'm sure one of you smart guys in the chat will correct me, has been on the docket since 1988. I would seriously like it investigated for the point of all of the companies in slavery that benefited from slave labor. Now, here's the thing. What you're going to find out is you're going to open up a bunch of worms that you may not want to know. For example, all Black people in America were not slaves. And also, there were other groups that were slaves, but that's a bridge many of y'all don't want. Will reparations, and here's where I disagree with my brother Sub-Zero. Yes, I do think in general that people deserve reparations. Do I think it would change anything as far as a cash payment? Absolutely not. The type of reparations I would be in favor of that wouldn't kill or collapse the economy would be, I agree with Eric on this, land, educational abatements, tax abatements, tax abatements. So if you start this kind of business or whatever, you are absolved taxes for X amount of years or whatever, right? Educational subsidies, whether you, God forbid, you don't go to a 4-year primary institution, damn those schools. No, but in all seriousness, that can apply to trades, that can apply basically something that will contribute back to things and that would also help people develop the skills so they have their own things. I had a whole list of things that I think it would. That way, one, you don't get people spending it back,
right,
and just giving it right back, but you also have a situation, as I just described, people are invested in the outcome of things versus, oh, well, this is ours for labor that you did not incur. And I will stand on this. You as a black man today, you can talk all this stuff about legacy of slavery, about 400 years. Our history is much longer in this country than 400 years. You can talk about all that stuff you want. It's not because of slavery. Why? As a collective, the group is losing. It is not because of slavery. It is not because of Jim Crow. It is not even because of so-called Republicans or Democrats. Why black people as a collective, obviously not all, are losing. Okay, but I'll go into that in the third thing. But that's my question on reparations.
Let me ask you this question.
Oh, wait, hold on, Dave.
Go ahead.
Can I get one point in? Because I was just saying, because to
Syr
my
Tyce.
opponent's question was when the land, when they remember when they were giving away all of the land and stuff like that, and none of the free Africans received any of that land. The land giveaway after emancipation?
That's not true. There are plenty of situations where people did receive land. You know, slavery is much more granular, or not much more granular, much more nuanced than you all make it. The
right.
Plantation didn't operate the same way. Okay, certain economies, you know, a lot of this stuff is based on economies. But mind you, I rudely interrupt you. That's my bad.
Oh, no disrespect. Listen, but then I also say, even though they did give them land, they still tried to take it back, and they're still taking land back now. What happened?
No, he just stepped out.
Yeah, he just put his camera off. That's all. He's still
Oh, okay. Well, that was my point about the land, because again, they're still trying to, even if they gave land, they're still trying to take it back. They're still trying to take land back now.
Are you? Well, let me.
You have to give a specific.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you referencing the banks or the federal?
You have to give a specific example because, okay, listen, you will get no denial from me on what the government did. I think the government owes black people much more for what happened during Reconstruction than during slavery. Okay,
that's right.
Okay,
1868. That's correct. That's when the land. That's when the land giveaway was happening.
And the Freedmen's Bank or what have you. I think that's more. But this whole current land grabs now, listen, the one recourse that we have is, and this is what Frederick Douglass was saying when I was referring to how he used the Constitution, you have that same Constitution you could use for your benefit. Like when I'm in conversations like this, and again, pardon my voice, guys, but when I'm in conversations like this, I often get, when we get appraisals, they undervalue our appraisal. Yeah, and you have the right to get another appraisal, and you can also sue that appraiser for deliberately undervaluing your appraiser, which would actually work in your benefit because they would probably settle out of court versus taking you there. Right. I'm not saying everything is across the board or above the board because it's not. But I'm saying you play these very same dirty games. You play these very same dirty games that they playing with you. You use the law against them, and I'm not into this whole us-them game versus. We need to develop ourselves to be more competitive. We've gotten away from being competitive and turned into a more grieving race. Social media should be God damn. I need to drink.
That's okay, my man. That's all right. Take a sip.
Well, before, like Syr Tyce said about dead air, and he can come back to it, but I'm gonna change it up a little bit.
Okay, Dave, go ahead.
So, what do y'all like to be called? Blacks?
No.
African Americans? Or people of color? Like, what's the correct terminology that you go by, and what do you like to be called?
Dave, I like to be called African residing in America. I mean, that's that's where I stand now.
I don't put much stock in nonsense. Long as it's no disrespect, there is actually quite great. I just broke something. There's quite frankly, if you look at the literal meaning of it, there is nothing wrong even with Negro. It means black in Spanish. But because we listen to these so-called academics, Du Bois, shout out to him, who did not have
who's that?
Du Bois. Did not have our best interests at hand. No, we have to be called black or what have you. We're more than the Negro. Negro just means black in Spanish. I mean, I think everyone knows that. Well, it's not that; it's how the term is. Now, I will say something though. In one of these James Lowen's books, the same guy who wrote Sundown Towns, if you ever notice, you probably don't. I always notice these little. I'm anti microaggressions, but I will say that this is definitely something that really stirs me up. Is when I see racist written, and like if you refer to Asians, you capitalize the A. If you say Hispanics, you capitalize the H. If you say whites, you capitalize the W. Guess what usually happens with black? The black is typically a lowercase b, and I'm always using black in an uppercase, and we often do this or whatever, and it's a very subtle way to say, listen, I'm not denying that these tricks weren't there. What I am of is I want us to be cognizant of this and beat them at their own game, especially when we have other groups. That people of color term, I don't even have to, that makes me vomit. But for the sake of the discussion, when you have other people of color who have come here and said, you know what, these lazy motherfuckers, shout out to Thomas Sowell. He talked about what we consider to be hood culture is basically backwater, down south, white, not Scandinavian, pardon me, it'll come to it, culture. And unfortunately, many of us have gravitated to this, and I believe that is by design and programming by many of your media figures and such. But I'll just say black for right now. Every 20 plus years, they love to try to change the term, which to me further distracts black people from the main focus that we should be. Forget all the black, African American things.
Call me a black. I'm black. Black man. That's what I'll go with black.
Hold on. I don't know.
That was a good question, Dave. That was a good question. How you want to be referred as? I respect that.
But guess what you'll be called when you leave the country?
Yeah. Expect.
We already know that. We already.
No. You guys are thinking wrong. They're gonna call you American.
Well, yeah.
Okay, they're gonna call you American, and we don't embrace. Listen, there's a reason. Look, you don't have to own a U.S. flag or anything like that, but there's a reason everybody wants to be here because they recognize the tyranny that exists where they are. And the type of, there's a reason why the top performing immigrants is not Asians, it's Nigerians, okay? Darker than many of us, all right? I don't want to create any separation between, but guess what they have? They have a family structure. Oh, there's that Republican talking point or whatever. My bad. Oh my God, the nerve of black people having a family. Oh my God. Shit. Oh no, but they have a family. There's accountability. And I'll be damned. I talked to my mother who's in her 70s, shout out to her. And I thank her every day for telling me, and this goes into one of my points I'm going to go later on, just thank you for raising me to not really care about what these other people think. Because part of in Black America, and maybe tie into one of your questions, so I'll just save that. Did you want to read this, or I didn't read it all?
Give Larice, give her credit.
I'll read it. Larice, thanks for participating. She said, we should be referred as the reflection of God's true people who need to stand together because we have already been up from day one. This is why others continue to take actions against us. True knowledge of oneself is the true power of how I want to be looked.
That's not what's on your screen.
Yeah, that's not what's on my screen, Dave.
I was reading that other conversation.
Yeah, so will never fail. We the people are entitled to the. We the people are entitled to the land, and absolutely, we definitely need funds. Okay, let's keep that in mind. We should not be told how to spend what it's. This Congress was not created for us. I respectfully disagree with you there, but to continue form of slavery. Okay, I would love for if she would join the panel. Okay, number one, you're not entitled to any damn thing. Not a white person's not entitled to anything. The fact that you're just free, there's your entitlement right there. You want something from somebody, you go and get it. Nobody's gonna give you shit. See, I can do the academic things, but I can also just bring it out to the level. Was that Republican enough for you,
Eric? My man. Okay, can I respond to that?
Oh,
because what I'm saying to you is what she's saying is it was already ours. It's already ours. You can't work a person for 400 plus years, man, and not expect to give them anything.
You're not.
My God, come on. What are you talking about? You still
sir.
you want to pull yourself
You're
up
not
by your
giving.
bootstrap. You don't got anything. How you gonna pull
You're
yourself up
not
by your
giving black
bootstrap when
people.
you don't got nothing?
You're not giving black people enough credit.
Go
And
ahead with that nonsense, man.
I think this is a good segue. I think this is a very good segue into something I'd like to share.
Well, let me get my last point off, and then I'll let you go.
Go ahead.
What you is if you free me, 1863, you freed me, right? And then you didn't allow me to be free until 1865, and then you let me go with just my shirt on my back. Are you serious now? I got no land, I got no tools, I got no horse, I got nothing to plow land, I got nothing. I don't even have land. So you're saying to me, you're free, go do you.
You're telling a very distorted. You're telling a very, very, very distorted tale of slavery.
That's the truth.
No, it's not true. No, it's not true. Okay, I would like you to cite me. I have not only slave journals that I can literally cite, but I can also show you. But hear me out. Hear me out.
Okay, I got you.
All right. No. Okay. After slavery, many people went to their own plantations because right now the reason why black people, and this is what isn't talked about. Guess all slaves. That whole house in word, feel in word. That's one part true, one part hyperbole. Malcolm X knew how to talk to people, as you say, to get to the level. All plantations, as I told you, didn't operate the same way. So, for example, you had many plantations where the black person went into the village. This is going to sound contradictory, but hear me out. A slave couldn't read or a slave couldn't read, but a slave that knew how to read was much more valuable than a slave that didn't know how to read. I know, makes no sense or whatever, right? Shout out to Frederick Douglass, who taught himself how to read under the banishment of death. Yeah. Meantime, kids got free libraries and all this, and they still doing math and reading at below their grade level. My simple point about the slavery thing, these plantations didn't just go out of fucking business, Eric. Many of them stayed. Many of them saved up a little of the money and went out on their own, okay?
Of course.
It wasn't just, oh, what's we gonna do, master? Some of them said, you know what? We'll make a deal with you. We'll make a deal with you or whatever, right? And by the way, it's not beer that I'm drinking, whatever. It's apple cider.
Wait. I was just going to say, like, how you reload on your beer? Because mine's is empty.
Right. It's apple cider.
We are adults. If we want to have an adult beverage, we have an adult beverage.
I'm sick and I haven't drank in a while, so I'm trying not to drink or whatever, right? Okay. Anyways, my simple point is that all plantations didn't operate. There's a reason why the Klan was formed right after, I believe it was Rutherford B. Hayes in 1876. There's a reason why, and by your beloved Democratic Party, I might add, was reformed because black men and black women had the skills at the time. After all, they were the slaves. They were the ones who knew the knitting. They were the ones who were the blacksmiths. They were all of these things, what have you. Even there's a great book, and I literally have it right here. And I know people say, why do you always refer to books? This book, you're going to see it on this show. It's called The Forgotten Cause of the Civil War. If you look up this book right now, you'll see that it costs about $3,000, right? And the reason that it costs so much, I didn't pay that for it or whatever, right? And by the way,
yeah, it's hard to get.
If you can read what that says.
Emancipated slaves, white and colored, born weekly.
Look at the magazine that it's coming from.
January 10th, 1864.
Harper's Bazaar. So this isn't just a picture in this book. This is from Harper's Bazaar or whatever, right? Hold on. You got to put that down because that's going to cause a bunch of friction right there.
It's going to cause some friction because, yeah.
But here's my point. This book, it talks about mulattoes and this, and that was part of the reason why of the Civil War, because basically white people didn't want to get caught up in all this shit or whatever, right? And I'm telling you that this was largely in economics. Here's another one. Another bulletin that was put in the area. White slavery, like I said, this thing is very intense, and we have summarized it to whereas we think Roots is factual, and many people don't know this. Alex Haley was sued for plagiarizing Roots, okay? Alex Haley was sued successfully. There's a book called The Culture, I believe. I'm just saying you just can't reduce it to where we didn't have no skills. And what's this 400 years? Black people have been working ever since. Now, have we been denied industries like union membership, yet we somehow support these fucking unions? Yes. The minimum wage, the thing that many of us fight over, that was implemented to stop you as a Black person because you had to kill. Yet this is something that many people, if you've seen us fighting against it, or it's my Republican talking point or whatever, you've seen us wrong. I know the history of this stuff, and many people know it. There's a reason that they want you ignorant in this. Go ahead with your spiel, and then I'll get my video ready. But go ahead with your follow-up.
Dave, read Miss Sweetie's joint.
Yeah, I'll read it, Dave.
Yeah,
She
like
says,
wow.
y'all weren't alive in 1863. Now you have all these rights. A lot of other minorities, and I'm curious why the land is being given to Native Americans, but Black people are supposed to get reparations / land. I'm mentioning this because I don't understand. Let me take that apart piecemeal. You are correct. None of us that are currently living
Right.
was alive in 1863. But the caveat is this: everything that occurred then was built upon. This is why Eric mentions Eric and Syr Tyce mentioned the Freedmen's Church and things of that nature. Also, what gets lost in it is a supposed say it again, Syr Tyce?
Bank. Freedman Bank.
Yes. Well, all of that comes out of the Civil War and out of I'm sorry, what's his name? I just lost the term for it. Comes out of that is this. All of that is built upon what was supposed to have been granted to Black people post-Civil War. This is why you had sharecropping. This is why you had all the other things. Black people in this country really didn't get the full access of freedom until 1864, until the passage of the Civil Rights, where they were able to partake in legally all the things and droppings that Caucasians were able to take advantage of prior.
Is it Caucasians or documented Caucasians? Because remember, Irish, Irish and Italians were considered white at one time.
Neanderthals.
There's too much
hold
shit
on.
This
The reason why I didn't.
Neanderthals, man.
The reason why I didn't use Europeans is because earlier that was decided that wasn't inclusive enough. So we know before the Civil War that there were race riots. The movie Gangs in New York illustrates that perfectly, how certain factions went to war against certain factions. There was no such thing as a white race. You were Germans, Irish, English, French. They never viewed themselves as white until after the Civil War, when they started to realize that if Black people continued to multiply, eventually they will outnumber Caucasians and whites. This is one of the reasons why they had to band together. I just wanted to put that out there so Anita could understand why this talk becomes important, because every other group that was marginalized in this country was awarded something, whether it was land, money, education, or whatever the case is. Even Native Americans still have reservations. Blacks have nothing of that sort.
Zero.
I'm not disagreeing pretty much with you, and I'm glad you clarified this, because we hear this, but I look at the current behavior and I'm going to comment on it, because like I said, if I so much don't care about so-called my own people, I care more about who I have direct control over, or influence or what have you, over. But I wouldn't even be this passionate about this. But speaking, you said that I'll say this: we built the foundation. You can make a case we didn't entirely build the industrial age. I said entirely, okay?
Right.
But the foundation was built on that, and now you get no comments towards me. Now, can I address? I was going to show a video if you don't mind, unless the brother Eric had something to say.
No, I want to for the last point before you showed that, I wanted to give Miss Adams her
Flowers.
reply.
Oh,
With the Malcolm X was also confused as to whom he was and his people, which is why he couldn't see properly all around him and still fighting against him to appease the white man. The KKK was formed because them were powerless against us, and they knew how to keep us in fear by killing our men in front of us and allowing them to take the black man's wives in order to keep for their pleasure. Why? Because the black womb of woman and the God-given creation of life of kings and queens.
Did you want to say something to that? He's taking it of his stogie. I
No,
was
go
almost,
ahead, go ahead, go ahead. No, I just
I
want
was
I just want
almost
her
with
point
her.
to be
I
right.
was almost with her, but then it gets into all this. Black people were just meek and obtuse. Ma'am, I would recommend a book called Negroes with Guns. Okay, Negroes with Guns. You'll see many people were offensive. Now, specifically Malcolm X. Here's the thing with Malcolm X. I think he's one of the most complicated figures, but yet impactful and most important figures of the 20th century. We have to realize this. These guys, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, these brothers were in their damn 30s.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be honest.
Young.
When I was in my mid 30s, I'm still just understanding some of the world or whatever, right? So these guys, on one hand, well, particularly Malcolm X, the other person I don't really want to talk about here, but Malcolm X was still formulating things, for lack of a better term, a misfit, a thug, and all this. He comes to all this knowledge at one point in his life and he goes all in, but then he doesn't see the little things around him, but he's dug all in. At the same time, his worldview is reshaping. God forbid when he went over to, when he went overseas and he sees like, damn, wait a minute. This bastardized version, and shout out to the NOI. I still think the NOI has a lot of benefit from brothers. And the fact that it's been demonized so much, that's why you have so much of this nonsense that's going on. But, and the last part about the black woman womb and all this, I'll say this. Look, yeah, shout out to all that, but these kids can't read, okay? I'm going to always go back to that or whatever, right? I mean, I just got to call facts. All right, check it out. I'm just going to let this play with my commentary. What we're looking at here is, and I'm going to play this at an increased speed because I don't want you to hear the music. I already know one of my fellows in the audience, he already knows what this video is or what have you, right? But this is a video taken of a place in 1925. Whenever we talk about black people creating things, where the first thing that comes up is Rosewood, a movie. And I'm not saying it didn't happen in Rosewood, Florida, whatever, but a movie, and Tulsa. They never talked about Greenwood. This is Greenwood 4 years after the riot, okay? What people not riot, bombing. What people don't tell you about Greenwood is that it was rebuilt without any federal funding by those very people in less than 2 years. And you did say a great point earlier, Eric, and I wrote it down. You said our resiliency. We never talk about our resiliency. We talk about what we don't have and all this. These people built a stronger, productive community, as you see. The first intro of the video, you saw a bottling company, okay? Now, here is a black school. Booker T. One of the most underrated figures in black history, Booker T. Look at how these kids upstanding are dressed, okay? Look at them in the 20s. They probably read better than 90% of the kids nowadays. Right. Okay. What I'm showing you, and this is people like, oh, you just found some video of some white filmmaker taking the pictures of the best things. If you want to say that, have some idea of what you're talking about. This is from Solomon Jones's archive. Solomon Jones was a black filmmaker and a minister of the time, and he's just documenting his community. He has about 30 of these. You know what destroyed this community 40 years later from 1920? Integration did. There's the person who, Solomon Jones, right there. I'm sorry, Sir Solomon Jones. Look at this man here. Clearly an upstanding individual. They're talking about what they're building here. This is Greenwood. Why do we constantly focus on? I'm not saying ignore the negative things. By the way, people don't realize it was white people that got killed in that bombing too, or whatever, right? So
Right.
here's the bottling company that I was referring to. Sorry, again, I apologize.
What's Oklahoma?
Okay, and I'm playing this at double the speed, so it's almost done. There's the bottling company. You have an automaking company that was there. Listen, before any immigration, before any 1964 Great Society bill or civil rights and anything, these are black people doing it themselves. Okay, what happened? Many thought the ice would be colder, amongst others, and they just left disregard. And this is the person who, you can look this up here. He's collected this here. So I like to show this because it gives a different picture to what occurred after the riot. But many people who, give me a moment, guys.
Go
Many
ahead, take
people
your time.
who are struggle, what I call, I'm just looking at the time. Okay, we're good. Many people who are what I call struggle grifters, who love to take points in history and say, well, this is why we are the way we this. They never tell you about those things. They never tell you about the women and hidden figures who were the human calculators, who knew high-level math before calculators existed. Black women, mind. Okay, now people don't even want to do math. What I'm telling you is that, and this is what I mean when I say a lot of the black community has become socially engineered to be on fuck shit, for lack of a better term. And I'm trying to get away from that. And when I defend people against what Eric says, and this over-focused, hyper-vigilant about white people, crackers, Neanderthals, man, none of that shit is going to help these kids compete against the world out here, okay?
Yeah.
And right now, these kids can't even fight, which is why they shoot. Go ahead.
And I respect that. Thank you for the footage. But you got to understand that when whites saw that those black people were doing better than them, that stuff got burnt down.
Sir, did you hear what I said? The riot happened in 1921. The riot happened in 1921. The community lasted for 40 years afterwards. They rebuilt it. That was after the riot. And guess what? If you're doing well, teams are going to put a target on your ass. That's how it works in sports.
And that's why the KKK was formed.
Huh? And guess what?
Why the KKK was formed?
Isn't that why we had the the Deacons of Defense? You're familiar with the Deacons of Defense?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
Isn't that why we had the Deacons of Defense?
I am.
You're not gonna. Listen, and all this. Yeah, if you're not willing to fight for your land, yeah, somebody's gonna take it. Just like we understand this with street culture, for some reason we want everybody to be orderly as it works otherwise. Politics is a dirty game. It's not always physical.
Yes, it is.
Like I said, it's all about money.
Well, of course, it's going to be about money. Where is civilization not about economics and resources?
Economics.
There's wars over spices, for crying out loud. Okay.
So to me, it sounds like we.
Go ahead.
Excuse my language. It sounds like we fucked up. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I mean, you can go this way, go that way, whatever. Pull this way. I don't. Is it any? We can talk about this. Is there any cure for this stuff, whatever? Because it seemed like it just get worse and worse after every year. Like you showed that video on black people coming together and they working together. That's the furthest thing on our mind in this day and age. Like what, to help somebody get on top? And I ain't getting top dollar like they getting? No way. Instead of thinking like, oh, if they get on top, they gonna put me on, then I can put somebody else on, or whatever the case is. We fucked up, man. And they're like, let's be real. Let's be real.
Are we fucked up, or sorry, let me check the video. Are we fucked up, or is the value system fucked up for the masses? To whereas many people who aren't fucked up don't want to stand in it, and it's like, you know, what is it? I don't think we as a group are fucked up. I just think that there's a messed up value system, and it's got its tentacles in America in a sense. It's okay, you know, it's okay to go into the rabbit hole. You know, forget the even LGBTQ stuff or whatever, right? even when I was growing up, and I grew up in a normal middle class black neighborhood, or a neighborhood that that became the hood, but it wasn't always like that. You didn't want to be a dumbass because you'd be talked about. Now being a dumbass, it's no big deal.
That's about
You
it,
know,
yeah.
okay, where did the value system go away? And people say, well, their values ain't the same as your needs. Okay, guess what? Everybody can't be a tattoo artist. Everybody can't be a rapper. Everybody can't be, these things where there are counterculture. Okay, and am I saying to fit into just society? No, I wish everybody could be entrepreneurs, but the reality is that is not the reality. Some people have good ideas and they just need to be on the idea board and implement them because they can't run a business. They don't understand accounting and all these things. I don't think we're fucked up. I think we have a very short-sightedness that is promoted in culture. Live for your now. Don't worry about tomorrow. Just live for the now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go
ahead.
I was going to follow that. I was going to follow up with what you're saying, Syr Tyce, with this. We don't, as a people, not a culture, but as a people. So I'm talking about black people, no matter what economic strata you're in, no matter what your age, we do not have a central focus. And what I'm talking about is, and you pulled out Dr. Claude Andrews' book, and that's something I have always mentioned and talked about, is he mentioned the 5 pillars of a community. We don't have that. Right. We don't have a central political ideology in which we can back. And we're so fractured that they give anybody any little thing and it splinters us, as opposed to saying, you know what, if the group doesn't benefit, we don't want it. And that leads me to what I was going to ask is, when it comes to illegal immigration, I think you touched on this earlier, Syr Tyce, where do we stand? Nationally, where do we stand?
I know where I stand, but I'm going to let him go.
I'm against it.
I think the border should have been closed 50 years ago. Game over.
Well, yeah, I'm against it. I mean, you can't bring these people into a society and stuff like that when there's already people that's struggling. You're not assisting these people that's already struggling, but you're going to assist these people.
So I'm going to challenge you.
What?
I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you. Why do you?
Okay, hold on a second. Well, I feel I contend that it's a replacement. It's a replacement for votes. Like, we don't need the black vote anymore because we're going to bring these people in. We're going to assimilate these people in. We're going to assimilate them in, and then we're going to take over your vote. We don't really need your vote now.
You get it. My question for you is, why do you guys still vote the way, because us and our Confederate, our Confederate, that's funny. Us and our conservative and Republican talking points. No, I said that in one part of the show. But why do you guys vote for these guys who say those very same things? You guys, so what does it matter?
The government.
Because why do you all vote?
This government is not for us. Why
would they be? You show nothing but destruction. I'm speaking just generally speaking or whatever, right? We talk about family. 70% of kids.
With us, Dave. We good.
Yeah, we straight.
Give me.
Yeah,
you good? Give me 1 second, gents.
Yeah.
I don't think the government, I don't look at it as the government. I look at things now. I do 1000% agree with him about the whole, we don't need your votes anymore. After all, you're under 13% of the population. You had a chance, I'm saying this, you had a chance to increase your population, but because there's an embrace for child deletions, 20 million child deletions amongst alone 1972, whereas let's just say you take half of those kids, whatever, you'd probably be the second minority, but right now you're going to fall into the fourth minority because you embrace that, because you've now tied it over to women's rights and things like that. And nobody is saying that, no, woman, you can't do this. But the extreme tactics are, what are you talking about? We're preventing a woman from her child deletion. What about incest? When we all know that that's less than 1% of those things. And they use those things. And here's why I'll agree with the young lady who said this earlier. they use those fetuses for various experiments. You know, like jabs
Mhm.
you should be taking. It's been proven that they use fetal tissue for that or what have you. But
Just
you
let me hop
can't.
in here, Syr Tyce, and let me drop this gem. If people understood the legislative battle for stem tissue use, they would be outraged at the things that occur. Outraged, not in sense, but outraged. Go ahead, Syr Tyce.
I apologize for the dead air. I was on mute.
Okay.
I need one more square. I just need one more share, please. This is a shout out to the homie Sub-Zero, whatever. Okay, can everybody see this? If you can't see this, I'm maybe looking at this at phones. Let me see if I can enlarge this. I can't enlarge it like I would like to. But, oh, I know how I can enlarge it. Stand by. Aha. So, what we have here is the crime database or what have you of the FBI, right? And this is a combination of FBI statistics and local statistics. Now, I know some will say this is from 2019 or whatever. It takes years to get the combination of the two or whatever. Okay, but this is the combination of the two where they corroborate the figures, okay? And what we have here is by race, the crime statistics here. Now, here it is in percentages or whatever by race, right? Now, when we look at the amount of deleting, we can't say these words or whatever, right? And we use the grape word for that one or whatever, right? Okay. Out of 100% total, we are 13% of the total population. Did you hear that? We're only a total. And by the way, when you really break it down, we're really only 10% of the population when you rule out children or whatever, right? I believe there's 8% women, and I'm sorry, of that total. I would say this: we're basically under 10% yet. And if you really want to get to this, black men commit 51% of the total murders nationally. And that's at a 90% clip against one another. All right. I want that to sing through. All right. These ain't the white man statistics or any of that dumb, goofy shit, because there's black people who compile this. They're not doing the white man's work. Be more frustrated at the lack of respect that brothers have who have differences that they just have to kill each other versus just the mere reporting of the data. Now, when we look at grape, another crime that has nothing to do with economics, just a vicious crime. You go to prison, see what happens with you when they look at your paperwork and see you're a rapist. 30%? Now, thank God they're at the 70% number. Yay, they're number one on something. Right? All right. But 30% is still bad for 13% of the population. All right. I'm not going to go through everyone. The only thing that we're not at a high clip at and is basically, oh God, 40% weapons carrying. Oh God, look at these things. I want to see something where we're at least in the teens. Oh, driving under the influence. Yay. We're not doing a lot of DUIs. That's beautiful or whatever, right? He had to walk away, but I showed this not to show how good white people are and all this. I show this to show you the gravity of things and how we really have something to take care of. People say, why do I focus so much on reading rates? I'm going to stop the share so you can look at me. Why do I focus so much on reading rates and math rates? It's because if you don't know the basic things, then you're going to probably revert to crime. And then when you revert to crime, you don't need a prison industrial complex when you're putting yourself there. You feel what I'm saying, guys?
I hear you.
You're helping accelerate that by not having skills. And what every convict will tell you is that's reformed. I could have been doing. One second. I don't want to refer to the brother as a convict, but the guy who you interviewed a couple days ago, the fashion designer, a couple weeks ago.
Fonz.
Yep. Say it again.
Fonz Carter. Yeah.
He said he didn't read his first book till he was 27 years old. And that was one of the biggest regrets in his life. See, I do watch y'all when I'm not on here, right?
Uh-huh.
And guess what he said? And that's a brother who's a smart brother. I could just listen to him. And I know he was basically saying, man, I had all this in me beforehand. I didn't even have to get here to do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
People say, well, you need to be a hope for the other gods or whatever. No, you can look at your uncle, your father, or your father you may not know. You can look at the criminals on the street. Every single god that I grew up with that had no reason to choose crime, that chose crime, every single one of them are in jail or dead or just so much of losers. They don't even need to be taken seriously. You know what I'm saying? Why is it we don't see this now? And like I said, when you just came back, Eric, I don't know if you heard me. The reason I show these statistics is not to show, ooh, us conservatives, we're doing better than you. I know you would probably think that. I like to show gravity. No, I'm being serious. I can throw in jokes. I like to show the gravity of this. And I also like to bring up, I don't care if I'm redundant on this. Y'all hear all the time about being a victim or whatever, and you accept it. So you're going to accept these bars. The reason why reading is so damn important is because when you don't know how to read, or you read at below your grade level, you are going to be relegated, especially in this economy now. Yeah. You don't have your hands to always work anymore. Right. And the way that they build these automobiles, hell, it's not as simple as it used to be or whatever, right? It's still a bunch of BS, but I'm going too far off track. You're going to need some skills with your mind. And if you don't, you're going to be relegated to all, like I said, everybody can't be a tattoo artist or any of these other traits. I'm not disrespecting tattoo artists or anything. I'm just simply saying there's not enough people. Hell, you don't have a steady enough hand. Hell, you might kill somebody with it. You're going to put yourself out of the market. These people that are coming over here, and I've already said what I thought of illegal immigration. I don't care if it's white, black, or whatever people. The people who want to do it legally, fine, whatever. But this illegal stuff, I'm done with it. I've been done with it. And it's cost me a lot of things, you saying the unpopular thing. My point is that you are putting yourself into a permanent underclass. You don't need prison industrial complex. When you're saying, hey, sign me up. I sell a little weed here and there. Ain't nothing wrong with weed. Yeah, I do a little couple B&Es, couple carjackings here and there. But hey, it's just property, right? You're accelerating that with the choices you make. So all those statistics I showed where we're at the top of, except with DWI or DUIs, thank God, I want us to look at it like, you know what? We're going to change the paradigm. We would put so many police out of work. We would make things so great. Just us. But hey, maybe we're programmed for doing it. That's what I have.
Let me read this. And gentlemen, you can answer this question. We have to conquer our own hatred and prejudices toward each other before we can sit at a table and talk about the game that's been placed upon us. Right. How do we do that?
Can you give an example of that? I don't understand that.
Well, listen, I think because we've been so programmed. Like many of us come to the knowledge, but then a lot of us don't. A lot of us just like, look, I got to get mine any way I can. You understand? So I'm gonna stay in the streets. I'm gonna continue to sling this. I'm gonna continue to sling that. I'm gonna continue to do this and do that because this is what I know, right? And so we can't bring those individuals to the table because they don't want to come to the table. It's like I'm getting great points from my opponent. I'm getting great points, and I'm like, that's great stuff. Like, how can we present this to the public and have everybody on the same page?
The reason even when you present it, we've created an ecosystem that's built around feelings. Well, sometimes, motherfucker, your feelings need to be fucking hurt. If you gotta, no, let's keep it 1,000. Like I said, I'll do some things for shock effect. I like to bring it back to people's children. We all care about our children if we have them and such. I was more terrified of my parents than I was of any kind of law enforcement or whatever,
Me
right?
as well.
I
Me as
wasn't
well.
bitter by any stretch. I'm not saying I was or whatever, right? But I did normal kid shit, whatever, right? You don't have that same fear anymore. I'm not saying every
Right.
parent has to be. Now, let me say this also. What I said about the thing about passive parenting, many parents don't even sit down with their kids on their homework anymore.
Yeah.
And then when the kids
They don't even have homework, really, to be honest.
wow.
They really
Now,
don't.
I'm not going to go on a ramble here. I'll just say this. How do we present it? You find those. I saw something that was very encouraging. And it was an older sister, who did admit she'd been voting the left. And I'm not saying, and let me be clear on this. There's an old school brother named Dr. Tony. I'm sorry, his name is Tony Brown. He used to have Tony Brown's Black Journal, if you guys are old enough to remember this. And he was basically like, look, you don't want to be too much on either sides. You want to be enough to be a disruptor to get them to talk about the points that are important to you. Things like school choice is important to me because if I had a child, I would want that child to have the choice of school or option they could be in, not to be in with the rest of the retards or whatever, right? Now,
Can't say that word, retards. Don't say that. Be nice.
Sir, when you have 80% of kids in Baltimore
Shock value.
that can't read at their own or grade level, are they not retards? And then when the Baltimore public schools are literally blocking the statistics, yes, that's happening. Look at Project Baltimore. Are blocking the statistics of how bad. I can't call them anything but,
That's Baltimore City. It's not Baltimore County.
Okay, true. But I would say this,
And
listen,
I'm just being facetious.
what I
Man.
was
I
saying is
understand.
about passive parenting. We need,
Passive
okay,
parenting.
look, again,
Passive parenting.
this is
Passive
what I didn't get out. You know what's more important? Oh, this is going to be a bomb. And I'll leave on this note. I won't say I'll leave, but here's the bomb. What's more important to many Black people stateside and many white people and many cool Asians and all this is being accepted amongst the group versus being knowledgeable. In other words, there's an anti-intellectualism that exists because being smart isn't cool. Having gold fronts is cool. Having a bunch of neck tats at 14 is cool.
Oh, damn.
Being knowledgeable about Shakespeare, I can make you a debate that Shakespeare was Black, but I'll save that for another show. How do we get past this simplistic thing of what's cool? Because everybody that was cool in my high school or whatever is like just regular people right now. Why is it so important? Someone said earlier, shout out to my man Hood Conservative. If I got to give credit where it's due. He said Black people are in lifetime high school. And then my man SKC said there's an arrested development amongst many Black people. In other words, being popular, being cool, whatever that is or whatever, that's more important than being accomplished. I'm not necessarily saying it's about strictly grades. I'm saying that's one part of the equation, but we ain't even got that equation down. So what are we going to do to get past being cool and all that? What does that amount to anyway?
I'm with Herb. Herb said it like, well, how do we bring everyone to the table and try to give them this information that's being spoken tonight? How do we bring everybody to the table so everybody's on one accord?
Yeah, I always say it like this. They say where you stand depends on where you sit. And I largely agree. The only problem with that is this. There have been some people who have been standing in this line for so long that they left the line. So they never get a chance to sit at the table. Those are the people that we need to try to get back into the fold. And some of them have just given up. They said, you know what? They ain't concerned about me. Look at our neighborhoods. Look at our schools. Look at the jobs that they offer us. Nothing we do seems to work in our favor. And that is the conundrum, is nothing works in anybody's favor until they start to work together.
Right.
It's the old adage. if I need to move 1,000 pounds, do I want to do it by myself or do I want to be able to call a group of people so we can get this done?
Right.
If we look at the way that we engage in politics, and when I say we, I'm speaking specifically of black people, we don't have political action committees. Don't exist. You ask somebody what's a super PAC, a superhero.
You mean Tupac?
Why would we want to do that?
You mean
And
Tupac?
that's why we can't get. That's why we can't even get a foot in the door, let alone sitting at the table, because we're not organized.
Right.
To answer the question about how do you get people to the table, it's very simple. You get Sexy Red, then you get then you get a couple go-to rappers who mumble their lyrics. That's how you just get them to the table. But in all seriousness, I think we're at a point. Those who want to confront this is why I'm a big hell. I honestly think I would not put my kids in any kind of public school nowadays. It's that bad because they're going to learn how to be the best drug dealer, best pill taker versus, and people say socialization is important, Tyce. Man, what do you say about the socialization? Again, why are we so concerned with socialization when a lot of that can come naturally in a sense? You know, we put more preeminence on being liked than being accomplished mentally, you know.
So let me ask you this.
Let me add one more thing. If a kid shows a prowess in basketball, I'll use the man that many of us love to hate and many people love. People say LeBron James had a single mother. Why do you so come hard, so single mother? I said LeBron James succeeded in spite of having a single mother. Okay? Now, because of those brothers, I'm going here, because of many of those brothers accepted his talent and reared him along and, housed him, put him up. I don't want to use, he's my own whipping boy for other reasons, but I'm just saying this, that got him along. And then, you have a growth spurt or whatever, right? That helps accelerate things. Why don't we do the same thing when we see a kid with, damn, that kid is always carrying some books along. Hey, man, what you studying, young brother? Oh, man, you know what? I know somebody who knows this on this topic. You need to meet up with him. That's how my brother is. Right. People, now mind you have brothers and all this. Man, I grew up in the same neighborhood that got infected with drugs in the crack era, just like many other things did, But by then I saw what would happen to you. My point, though, is that if you know the formula for when it relates to sports, I can't teach them how to do a crossover or a pick and roll or understanding what floppy is, but I know somebody who does. Why don't we take that same approach? Every area has universities. Hey, I'll cook for some of you college students. Can you come teach my kid or whatever, right? It's little simple things that you can do or what have you. But we have to take that interest.
You got to take that. Hey, Dave, give Secure this question that Miss Adams has. The definition of retardation. I know we can't. I know that's not a word we can use. Is that a word we can use?
That's all that is.
The YouTube forbidden words are things like, like I said, like deletions, grapes, things that they think that'll trigger things. Retardation, Maurice, I guess when I use the term retard, I think we know what I meant. People, okay, a person whose brain is not functionally developed to whereas normal concepts come to them. There's social retardation, and then there's physical retardation, or what have you. But a lot of it deals with brain development, where people, hey, they got a few screws missed, as we used to say. But as far as this political correctness, nah, I'm not going there or whatever,
and I think that's the thing. Like, people don't want to use it because the way that we use it, so we know that word is legit. Like, if your IQ isn't high enough, you're considered retarded. Yeah, so, but people want to, avoid that fact when you talk about data and numbers and stuff like that. So it is real, but they try to steer away from that because people took it to another level.
I've talked a lot. I'm really passionate about this because I used to be a team lead at a manager or at one company, right? And I'm not into the whole in my field. When you get into management, you lose your technical chops, right? It's kind of like I want to be a player forever or what have you, right? I don't really get into the coaching ranks or whatever, right? I'm being facetious in a sense. I was interviewing guys who were making much more than me. And the first thing, because I'm triggered, I want to cry, is racism, right? I didn't realize that I came in this company at a low wage. And you know how it is with these companies. Once you come in at a low number, you're stuck on that 3% raise incline or whatever, right? No matter how smart you are. And even if you get a promotion, they're not going to promote you up to that level or whatever, because they're not going to give a $10 and $15 and $20,000 raise. So I'm bringing in, damn, we lost the host. But
No,
I'm bringing in six-figure guys, and I'm barely making. They're making about 20, 25 more than me. So you can do the math there. And I'm like, this is insane. And I went to the manager and I talked to him about it. I'm like, look, I'm looking at these salaries. I'm the one that's doing the bulk of the interviewing, where I'm the guy you vet. If you guys are familiar with basketball, I'm not saying I'm a basketball coach, but they'll bring an assistant coach in and like you go one-on-one with that person or whatever, right? You know, they're working with me on the work side. I'm really testing their technical chops, right? And I'm realizing these guys not only don't know a tenth of what I know, these guys are beginners, and they're like, man, hire them. We can train them. And they told me, hey, you came in too low. What you should do, this is why it's good to have allies of all people. You should bring an offer to the table. And I'm like, you know what? Because I kind of lost my competitive drive for a moment. I brought them an offer. I got offers 35 and even 40,000 more. And they said, man, you know we ain't going to match this. But stay with them. We'll bring you back or whatever. I don't say that to pat myself on the back or to slide my own knob or anything like that. I say that to say these other groups who learn these things, I have tried to teach what I've learned to brothers for years. Out of 30 individual brothers, I've had 2 brothers that was willing to do the work. They was like, man, I just thought you was going to hook me up. And I'm not bringing you into the job and you don't know what to do and it's going to reflect bad on me, man. You out of your blipping mind.
Right.
I want to see where your mind is and all this stuff, what have you. And I see these other groups, they may not know either, but at the bare minimum, they're at least willing to study some things and to get up to snuff. And that's why when I hear all this entitlement and all this stuff,
Sorry about that.
Oh, was it a touchdown? Or did
No. My wife was like, "Why are you smoking in my office?"
Oh,
damn.
Oh,
Yeah,
My bad. My bad, babe. My bad.
Well, I didn't know that Joe Burrow was playing.
no, it's to your point, Syr Tyce. We have lost the element and the understanding of what it means to work hard. It's that simple. You know, it reminds me of when I was campaigning a little over a decade ago for city council here in Niagara Falls. We would go up to certain people's doors, we'd knock on the door, ask them to sign the petition. And the first thing they would ask is, what are we going to get? What's in it for me?
Right.
And you had to convince them just to sign the petition. Now, they didn't understand that the petition was just to get you into the starting gate.
Exactly.
Yeah. Conversely, we go to other people's doors and they'd be like, oh, absolutely, we want this asshole out of office. You didn't have to explain some things to certain people. And it made getting ahead, not even ahead, it made getting started that much tougher. So when you have a group of people who are dead set against their own improvement, it begs the question, how can I help you if you don't want to help yourself?
Are you old enough to remember a TV show called Green Acres?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have not seen this.
There's a place to be.
Yeah, I have not seen this show in years, and maybe I'll look it up or whatever. Because I'm probably not going to go to work tomorrow. But I'll look this up. But you were like Aliva. I remember. Oh my God, Zsa Zsa Gabor. That was
Gabor, yeah.
Yeah, I remember Zsa Zsa Gabor. Aliva. Oliver was like the normal person, and all the people were just buffoons. It was like watching Idiocy, if I'm not mistaken. That was you at the door. You know, like, wait a minute, what? I was gonna ask, not to disrespect you, because that takes a lot, man. Did you obviously you didn't make it?
No, they not. Matter of fact, me and my right hand man, Carnell Burt, shout out to that cat. He ran from there. Carnell, he ran from there.
Carnell. Okay, yeah.
He made the ballot, but they knocked me up because they challenged the petitions. And I came up like 168 signatures short.
That's it?
That's it.
So I have not been looking at the comments here, and I'm reading some of these comments now. So, Eric, since this was between you and I, I'm not saying we're walking eye to eye. We're not holding hand in hand and all that stuff or anything. But do you see at least, and let's get all the ad hominems or whatever, you at least see where I'm coming from, whether you agree or not?
Totally.
Okay.
Totally. Listen, I told Dave coming into this, I'm willing to learn. And hopefully I got some points that I can put out there that somebody will take, like, oh, okay, I can use that or whatever. But I'm willing to learn because again, I'm in a space where I probably can control some things. I probably can reach out to a few cats or whatever to get some cats on the right road or whatever. So I'm learning different techniques that I can utilize. So that's what I looked at. That's what I was looking at.
I think that people, when I talk about this reading and mathing, I know it's the basics, but I'm going to stick with these basics because I saw something real quick. I saw something at a gas station that just blew me away. They couldn't figure out something. They're like 8 times 7, and I'm like, "Are you serious? Are you serious? Are you serious?" It's at 56. No. I'm gonna put it in the calculator. 8 times 7. Okay, it's 56.
Man, that's supposed to be better.
I was like, when I was 8 years old, I used to have this times table chart. My mother, I used to have to know it all the way up to 12, and now it's just like simple. It's not even that big of a deal. But if we don't know the basics of things, how can I even get you to understand? I mean, do you think these computer hackers are just math whizzes? They're not.
No.
I can tell you, they're not. No. Many of them are they just know how to do something. But what I will tell you is this. Many people are willing to learn. Just like for this debate, I did have to do some research to get some of my facts right because I like the challenge. I want the replay.
Yes, sir.
Like, he was wrong on this. But this is what I'm getting at. Many of us lack nuanced thinking. We don't even know how to do critical thinking. Like, I mean, if we can do critical thinking there's an analogy that says many people will spend more time on their vacation than developing their life plan or whatever, right? But what you're doing with your vacation is you're considering costs, how many kids, travel, you probably got 2 sides and all that. People who have to travel with kids, I feel for you. Good Lord. Anyways, but
it is not easy.
Yeah, no. That's just a tough thing. I was talking to somebody about this just recently. That's what it hit my mind. But we hear somebody, oh, that's a Republican. We ain't gonna hear that talk. We don't want to hear that. Oh, he's talking in Republican voice. I'm not beating you up on this. I'm just saying I hear this all the time. Oh, like, hold on a second. Listen to what they say. Oh, he sounds too proper. There's this clown in Congress who's by the name of Jamal Bowman. You guys, this guy is a straight goofy and an ass clown. Like, the problem with the Republicans is they don't got no swag. And I'm like, and you do? And not that he's talking about me or whatever, but it's like people vote for this garbage who offers nothing but, okay, hey, sir, excuse me. What are you dealing with this immigration crisis right now? You said this, and they're now in our community. What are you going to do about it? That get them removed, not to share our community. People need to ask these guys direct questions on the right, left, middle, green, whatever. And then that's where I call the nuanced thinking. Okay, I might not like his approach. How do these policies benefit me? Nobody likes paying for $4 gas. That's ridiculous.
Right.
But I don't like the mean tweets that person says. So we're for a guy, it's like we have to think nuanced things. We can't, everything can't come on with a good cake with nice icing and topping. Sometimes it's going to be an elixir, and that, this is one of the reasons why many of your rappers are in bad deals, and your average rapper who you see out there who got on all these Jews, who got these money, what do they call it? Money books? I forgot what they used to call it. Money bricks. We got these money bricks. That's prop money, even nowadays, because they know that they're illiterate. They know that I'll just give them some surface things or whatever. This is why I deliberately do it on your channel sometimes. This is why I come at so hard all that negative hood, trailer park, hood bullshit. I'm sick of that stuff being mainstream. That shit should be in the gutter where it is. It does not mean people who live in the hood should be in the gutter. I'm talking about promoting the negative aspects of that. Because just because you're from the hood doesn't mean you're rotten or anything. You might have more resilience because you work harder than everybody else. And trust me, that's going to make you thrive in life. I want to promote that.
Yeah, I said a lot. A lot's been said.
A lot's been said, yes, sir.
And I think one of the things is, of course, I wanted to build it up to make it seem like it was this Bud Crawford, Errol Spence type of battle. But I think we need to have these challenging conversations. And as their buzzword is, courageous conversations. But what I realized from work, it's really not courageous because certain things they leave out purposely. And for example, and I'm not going to get too much into it, but one of the things is, what about when you work with people that you don't trust? See, a lot of the things that they have professional development about, it's just the same regurgitated stuff over and over. But when it comes to human interaction and stuff, like what happens when you don't trust a teammate or whatever the case is? How do you handle that? What do? That's clueless on that.
That's a great question. I want to address
They're clueless.
Yes, sir.
Can I address one of these comments? Because I didn't see it. And like I said, I was more focused on you guys, and I'm listening to you. I would love to hear it around the horn about the teammate thing because you do make a great point with that. But Maurice Adams says, I asked, this is regarding the retardation, is because you had no idea how this word would harm young people in school. They call you to try to make you believe your child is that word when your child is very intelligent. They don't want him to excel over the next child outside of our race. All right, so check this out. What I distinctly said earlier that I was using that to describe the bad kids, things like that or whatever. Just the people like this. Now, as far as, listen, she sounds like a compassionate parent and she wants to believe in this or whatever, but I will also ask, and I just lost my train of thought. I was going to reply to this in the way, no idea how this word harms young people in school. Okay, hold on. Listen. Real talk. I spoke on this earlier. I said we created a bunch of soft kids. Listen, you grew up in the 70s or 80s, I guess, like we did. I'm 51. So if you grew up back then, there was those kids were brutal. Okay, I didn't say brutal. They were brutal. Okay. I mean, there was no political correctness back then. And dare I say, if it didn't kill you, it made you stronger to where you knew how to you knew how to snap back at these kids. My simple point is that prove them wrong or snap back at them on this. Now, as far as the school and the administration, Well, here's where me and Eric will be hand in hand, pause, in harmony in this. School's job, unfortunately, nowadays is they're not deliberately doing it, but I don't want to say that they're carting people to prison. What they are doing is, hey, here's the smart kids, here's the immediately not academically accomplished kids. Can we use that word? Here's everybody in the middle. We just corralling everybody to get C's so we get money here.
Right.
It's up to the parents to say, hey, my child is bright. If it can't be in this school, I'm going to figure out a way that, a break, just like a basketball player, he's going to be bouncing the ball or figuring out ways or different moves. That bright kid is going to probably have a book in his hand or studying something, okay? Or at least learning something. I grew up with somebody who had a stutter, right? This dude is so articulate now, you would think he's like Morgan Freeman, but, he has a flow in his tongue. And to overcome that, he just started reading books and newspapers aloud, and it took him about a year. If he can put that much diligence in himself, the same thing can happen on the academic side. A lot of it is, and sometimes you may have a learning disability, and guess what? Every person who I've read about has had a learning disability. They realize they've had to work a little bit harder. And when I say harder, that doesn't mean study more. They've had to study in different ways. There's a guy by the name of Jim Quick. I hope she's still there. Maybe she's not. Jim Quick, Asian guy. KWIK. He had a learning disability that he didn't recognize until he was a sophomore in college or a freshman in college. Now this guy teaches super learning courses. He can remember whole books and things. He's not an anomaly. The same way we work toward physical skills, I'm getting at, is we can work to these other skills. So sorry for making that long, but I just wanted to address that. I wasn't necessarily just going in on the retards.
Okay.
Okay, we got 4 minutes left in the game. I see what's the name is left. He's probably going to feed his cats. Oh, no, there you go.
Yes, sir.
I take very good care of my in-house people.
Yes, right. I'm glad you didn't say other things, Another thing. And yeah, David, I told you I was going to light your board up when that person thought you're going to show my pictures that I showed myself.
I'm still here listening.
Who talking about old girl?
Yeah,
you're trying to show pictures that I've showed myself as if you think I'm embarrassing myself. Come on.
Yeah, she said that's not her, huh?
Wait, who said that?
Brother, it's not work. It's just kind of a side.
Oh, okay.
It's not even. It's
the drama in the counselor's corner. One of the chicks.
Drama in the counselor's corner, baby. That's what we do.
Some chick, and I use the term chick very loosely or whatever, right?
Wow.
To try to post my pictures like there's anything insulting about me, or like I don't here. I'm not gonna kiss my own ass or whatever, right? And she's throwing all these little shots, and I'm like, wow, you going to my own timeline and taking things. Now that's usually illegal against most groups or whatever, right? Now she don't know I have ways. I work in IT or whatever, so I found multiple pictures of her, and I was her. And she got the nerve to be talking about, I'm like, yeah, I'm 5'7", big deal, but you overweight. It's okay, and there's nothing you can do about that or whatever. Or there's something you can do about that if you're opting not to. And she's one of those people who loves talking about black men or sisters should go with white men or whatever and all this. And I'm like, show your white man. Show your, that's where I'm at. Damn all the talk on social media. Show me your white man. And by the way, if it is, that's what you do or whatever. But we know that that's not you. And boy, when when I posted those pictures, who would deny that they're themselves? Or on their profile, they would have multiple pictures of not them. I mean, come on, that doesn't even make sense.
She's like, that's not me.
crawl.
Yeah, but that happened, and y'all know I don't strike. But when you come at me, I will strike.
No.
Wow.
So another thing, here's a solution we didn't talk about.
Okay.
I want kids. Okay, when I get my $1 million, I'm gonna have a boxing center that's gonna be mixed with MMA. There's gonna be a bunch of computers in there, and it's gonna be a bunch of foreign language teachers there, whatever. And to come into my program, you're gonna have to learn how to box or at least learn some kind of groundwork. You're gonna have to. There's gonna be a physical aspect of it. There's gonna be a discipline part about it. You're gonna learn about meditation. You're gonna learn some foreign language, and you're gonna learn this academic shit. Simply put, I'm gonna build you on the mental and definitely the physical.
Yes.
The only thing that saved me growing up was because I knew how to fight. Okay. Now my father was a boxer, my brother was a boxer, and all this, whatever. So I come from a family of that or whatever, right? Don't let the smooth taste fool you.
You must never ran into Niagara Falls.
Brother. I'm from Detroit, so okay. So
I'm from the D-Town. Okay.
yeah, we built best boxers. There is.
I know about Detroit, whatever. I got bad people in Detroit.
Yeah. So no. My simple point though is that difference right now with kids. He's gone now. I don't have the school Anushka or Anita. My bad or whatever. Is Anushka her name that she goes by Anita?
Yeah, that's Anita.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Yeah,
Anita Baker. Anita Faker.
It's my mythical school right now. I did used to teach boxing. Real quick, I was on Sub-Zero's channel earlier, and we were just talking about how nowadays, like right now, American kids ain't even tough anymore. When was the last time you seen a touch football game? When was the last time you seen kids playing back? You couldn't find a basketball court or just a sandlot baseball game. Everybody switch off gloves. This is what kids do nowadays.
No, they told now.
At 6. And we expected these kids to teach us into the next good luck. Good luck.
They told now. They got the armor now.
That's what. Even then, I would definitely teach firearms too. Then, I've been shooting since I was 9 years old. There's a reason why you hearing about these kids getting shoot or some person getting shoot. You shooting a 45 caliber or whatever, and you got weak arms. Yeah, of course. What are you doing holding that? Or you watch these dumb rap videos. They're doing this or whatever. I don't want to do that. The algorithm will figure out those signs. You don't hold a firearm like that. Yeah.
Right.
They have no emotional control because there hasn't been a daddy or a man that sits their ass down and say this. No disrespect, ladies, but when we say they respond like women are always going to respond to that emotional shit. Just like old girl. That's my old short ass. Sweetheart, I'm a pretty accomplished guy or whatever for being a short guy or whatever, right? Come on.
I think, like you said, Syr Tyce, whatever, as far as the schooling thing, I said it needs to be a one-shop type of thing. Like, the model needs to change. For me, what I see what's going on, you need people from Department of Social Service, in Maryland they call it MVA. In New York, is what is it? DVA or whatever, something like that. You need all these different drug and alcohol counselors, because even at the middle school level, these kids with these vaping and these gummies and all of that stuff, these kids are out there.
Brother? They out there. Consider. That's so huge. That's above my pay grade. Or this drug thing is even bigger than it was. You always had your kids who smoked or smoked weed or whatever. These kids are doing pills.
Yeah.
And all this crazy, Yeah, that's something that's huge, man. Yeah.
So I say you need all of these faculties in the school, because the thing is you're trying to get these people to come in, but they're not trying to pay them, so you always have a shortage. And the big thing in schools now is mental health. Well, counselors can only do so much, and you want to have outside people come in, but you're not paying them. So these agencies that they work for, they're not coming in. So we're always at a deficit, let alone you're at a deficit for teachers, because teachers, like, people who were dedicated to teaching, granted, certain counties and school systems, they gave them a nice raise. Even in my school system, they pretty much starting off close to damn near 60,000.
Yeah,
That ain't that's not always been the case. Like, even when I came into the county, it was like 30 something, 37, 38. But people are not signing up for those behaviors with the kids.
and many teachers know going into that profession, they're not doing it for the money, right? And now, though, I've seen you can go on YouTube right now and look at teachers quitting, and you'll hear, no support from the administrations. Parents don't give a flying fuck, whatever, right? I mean, it's hard to do a job. I don't want to belittle your colleagues or whatever. I'm not even belittle them. I've heard teachers say, look, I'm just there because I'm tenured until I find something else or whatever. Right now, these parents don't care. I really wanted to impress upon students, when I was this, if they don't care, why should I care? And that's kind of what we're at right now. The age of Marva Collins, man. I mean, yes, you still got those people out there, parents who do, but man, we are in dire times. Meantime, this game is looking very good in the last.
Which game is that?
Yeah.
15-9. It's 15-9.
Yeah.
And thank God for Slade here. I can watch the last minute. They're going to do an onside kick here, but yeah. Excuse me.
Well, we're not going to belabor the point. The whole thing was us coming together, having these talking points, and putting stuff out there. And I hope that people who typically don't respond or participate in this, they like, damn, they was throwing something out there, and they use it, because that's what it's all about. Taking stuff and using it, and maybe not on here, but off the record, people always say, I respect your platform. Even though it could be chaotic and all that stuff, I'm learning stuff, whatever, because we can't assume that everybody's been a part of everybody's situation.
Yeah, I got a letter from somebody that was very surprising. They told me that going back and forth with that one troll or whatever is beneath me.
Right. No. Dave caught me and your exchange. And that's how this came about.
My thing with you though was just very simple. And we're more now in concert than we were beforehand. Because I was gonna come in, but it's not worried. Okay, look, fine. You're not into white women or whatever, and whatever. Who cares? I'm not saying I am or whatever and all this. Not that I would turn them away, but
Hold on, wait a minute. In the interest of
no, real talk. There's bigger issues than where someone else's thing goes or whatever. I will tell you this: there's a waitress who used to be a waitress, but she went to nursing. And I'm like, how'd you do this? She said, well, I took a pay cut, but I didn't want to be in bartending anymore. Not a waitress, bartender, pardon me. And she's got a night, I'm going to get God, so Anita, go away and whatever if you want, she's got just a crazy body. The dude was like, dude.
That thing be thinging like Shaughnessy said, huh?
It's funny. Shaughnessy swears she has a body, and I'm like, I need to inspect this. I need to see it myself. Whatever.
She ain't gonna show it.
Yeah, so, and I took a few look at her pictures, whatever, but it's like, her with her locks and all that stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to be all creepy and weirdo going through these pictures and things, But hey, she admitted it. You need to show that thing, I guess what I'm getting at, no, in all seriousness, I don't want us majoring in the minors as brothers, okay? We got a lot of things, here, forget the community. I'm just talking what I would advise, not children. Brother, get a skill. Get a second. If you single, get a second job or get something to build up some damn money. I had 2 contracts outside of my job or whatever, for the last year and a half. Thank God. I'm like, I should have been doing this years before, but I've always been open to learning skills or whatever. Similar to Anita, she says she just likes to learn and things. I've always been like that, kind of like myself or whatever. Okay, they run the clock out here. But my point is that, brothers, nobody's gonna hand nothing to you. The way that you learn how to find opportunities is being out there. Even I got a homie who just started a hot dog stand, right? Mm-hmm. And because he figured out, and there's one story, you can look this up on YouTube. It's a guy who got frustrated with his job. He's a brother. He got frustrated with his job. This is before I was going to say here, I'll just call it what it is. This is before what happened in 2020. I'll use those words. He makes $900 a day shining shoes. Now, if the guy told you he shined shoes, you'd be like, oh man, he's an old bum or whatever and all this. Let's see. Let me do some simple math because I can do it. 9 times 5, you got to carry the 1 or whatever. Okay.
Is that pre or post tax?
So real talk. That's $230,000 cash a year. Shoe shop.
You ain't paying tax on that.
Would that be called a shoe cobbler or something?
Well, the formal name is a cobbler, but
yeah. No, the reason I say that because we had professional development today, and we were talking about that, and the guy who was facilitating, he said many kids don't know about being a shoe cobbler or whatever, and these are the type of things that's out there that not too many people doing. That if you gravitate and do it, your ass paid. You paid. But we all like to do things that everybody, and I think that's what's wrong with the generation now. They want to do everything. They all want to look alike. They always want to have the same hairstyles, wear the same things, the cruddies and all that stuff. Sometimes you gotta be uncommon and do something different and step outside the box. And many of them, they all want to look alike.
I still go to a cobbler. You see those taps?
Yeah, wait, hold on.
That's something that, brothers, we can get into brothers not knowing style and things like that, man. But imagine what you said. The brother got frustrated with jobs. He's in Times Square, around Times Square, and he started making $900 a day shining shoes. Now, I wish he would have done himself on video because all he did was invite the IRS in on his business,
Right.
But, okay, fine. Let's say he works 4 days a week. He's been doing that for 5 years. That's liquid. Okay, again, that's liquid cash. Okay? Cash. Not waiting to get paid. Every day he comes home with money. Hell, a slow day he brings down 500. Who's to say he was lying? Maybe he makes 1,200 a day. I had did the numbers on that, and I said if he charges $10 and he has to do 90 shoes a day or whatever, right? That if you just want to do that, and he may probably have fuck it. I would split it in half, and he splits it with somebody else, or he pays for that. $400, $500 a day is a lot of money.
Yeah, he's still making good coin.
And again, cash. Tax free. He said he's been doing it for 6 or 7 years at the time of the story. He's got enough saved up. Okay, boom. What can I do next? And I guess why I was saying that story was there's opportunity in everything. I'll tell you about the hot dog stand. I used to have a hot dog stand years ago, and I would make $300 to $400 a day just outside of Home Depot. I bring a woman there and have her do it. The sales would double. But I was young, and I just spent up all the damn money or whatever. I wasn't always. I'm not perfect now. Let's see. Why are we defining things? But let's see. Accomplish. Well, Anita, there's an Adam Sandler and Method Man. Do you know who Method Man is? There's an Adam Sandler and Method Man movie that was actually pretty good called The Cobbler. It was actually one of the few Adam Sandler movies I ever liked, actually.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, this is good. Y'all got something else? I can stay with y'all, but
we're about to close it out. If y'all want to give some closing comments, whatever.
I'm sorry.
I appreciate the conversation, man. And I also appreciate those that's actually coming in with notes and stuff like that, who's actually being engaged with the conversation. So, like, we're not just sitting there talking to ourselves.
People came in with notes. I only see the YouTube comments. There's Facebook comments.
You got YouTube?
Yeah.
I'm
a lot of it was from Facebook. Yeah.
Facebook, yeah.
We'll go to Facebook because somebody, I'm sure it's one of my enemies during the opening. I'm going to figure who this out is right now. In the meantime, listen, bro, I don't deliberately just come to piss people off or whatever. Like I said, I don't think I have a unique perspective. I do think, what I'm saying is not put out there to just counter the message. You don't want to always hear this one type of music, whatever, right? Sometimes you hear something different. If we can go, I'll never forget it so much that I've forgotten it, right? I'm trying to use a specific example. I heard, of all places in D.C., this is back when I used to go to Howard's Homecoming, and I heard Outkast's album.
Howard's Homecoming.
Straight up East Coast Head, Beat Nuts, Backpack, Black Moon, groups like that. And I'm like, I've never heard hip hop like this because it wasn't just beat, boom back as they call it. And I was open to hearing that or whatever, right? Whereas many people didn't want things. We do often need to hear of these different things. You know what I'm saying? But there was one other thing I was gonna say or whatever. I want to find this discussion because I will address that. Feel free to fill up the dead air.
Nah, hey man, listen, I encourage this day, man. Hey man, if you want to bring us back, bring us back.
Y'all welcome to come anytime, man. It's open.
I really enjoyed it. You brought the conversation though. You saw the conversation
because I looked at it as a competitive standpoint, whatever. You know me, I'm all about promoting the boxing thing, getting the jabs and all that stuff, whatever. So when I seen it, I said, hey, let's bring it. I knew that you guys were going to come in here. Y'all was going to be respectful toward each other, but it was just trying to build it up and just have different dialogue. And I think that's important.
I seen some of the fans are enjoying it.
Yeah, this is not stated enough.
Go ahead. My bad.
You looked at Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. They were on different sides of the spectrum, but they had the same goal in mind. Mm-hmm. No different than you two. And what I think people need to understand is the more we sit down and have these conversations, the closer to a consensus we get. Right. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I think we just have to get away from this social media. Okay, I think social media has been a gift and a curse. The gift is that it's brought people from different areas together that normally wouldn't, encounter each other or whatever to have conversations. The negative part is that many of the puppeteers have used it. I hope people know these algorithms populate the content that they want to push,
Right.
And they do it, and sadly we fall into it, and case in point, where the topics, what does a side chick do? Well, actually, I don't mind that because I think that can be discussed. And maybe you need to explore this, Dave, not to tell you how to run your show. I'll tell you this. This is going to get controversial and everybody going to throw tomatoes.
Here we go.
The only women you all as men, old or young, need to listen to about women is sex workers and divorce attorneys.
Damn.
And bartenders.
Damn.
And the reason why, they all see men, well, a divorce attorney could be a man or female, but they all see men in their, how do we say, whatever, their relaxants. They see them all, so you can't discount them all. They do. Now, most of the ones online are ignorant because the ones who really about that money, they're not putting out their business that they're slut tramp whores. No, I'm just, real talk. They're not talking about, I'm a sugar mama or whatever. No man who actually even uses those services is gonna be like, oh man, she's putting that out there by herself. She's gonna put me on blast, But what the bartenders and the real sex workers will tell you, man, I mean, if you can, and again, I don't advise men to go to titty bars and all that shit. We all like looking at a nice pair or whatever. Don't get me wrong, but you're kind of feeding into their delusion or whatever. I believe men could shut this shit down tomorrow. You tell all these simps to give up their OnlyFans accounts or whatever. Those are your real problems. Don't blame the OnlyFans models or whatever. They're just responding to the market. But dudes should not be happy about interacting physically with a woman, leaving their home, but I can log into here and look at something or whatever. Come on, dude.
It always reminds me when I go to Baltimore to Niagara Falls, and they had those adult video stores, and you see these cars lined up. And going into these little spots or whatever, I was like, well, damn, I wonder, do they wives know where they at tonight, whatever, because I was like, they up in those spots, whatever.
I'll leave you with this, Joe. There is a channel. It's man, don't go to this channel and watch it before you go to bed. I think people should watch happy things before bed because you're gonna dream about that shit. It's called Soft Underbelly. It talks to everything from hitman to prostitutes. There's one thing you can just look up tricks. And you got like black ones, white ones, Asian ones. You pick your race. Doesn't matter. Well, I just like pain. And I mean, I'm like, you effing weirdo or whatever, right? And he'll make up all these excuses. I like to sometimes get in their mind or whatever, but no. When you watch this, it'll kind of give you a picture, and a lot of it is just they didn't develop those social skills, but they're just afraid of disappointment. So they rather have something than nothing. Soft underbelly.
Don't be on my search chat, my guy.
I don't see the thing in the topic here, this discussion. I guess I'll find it tomorrow. Yeah, how many cats you got, Dave?
Huh?
How many hats do you have?
Hats?
Yeah.
A bunch of them.
I don't know. I don't even.
Herb got some
different hats.
shit too.
Dave ran me off of that podium. I was like,
No. Herb called me out. That's why I started wearing these hats. He called me out for this hat game.
No, what you got, about 50 at least?
Huh?
You got 50?
Yeah, I got more than 50, yeah.
Okay.
Herb, you out the hat game?
Because it's just certain spots or whatever. I got them all over.
Hey, that's a big man on campus. I'm just on the hat box.
I see you got some stuff with you, Syr Tyce. I see you.
Yeah, I'm at 15, but most of my things are straw because it's down here it's really hot.
Yeah, it's a Detroit thing though. Hats the Detroit thing anyway.
Absolutely. My father had like about 150, so I picked it up. Hey, listen, I really appreciate it. It actually ended well. That's a good start week. I don't know if I'm going to go to work or not, but I do have to watch.
You need to rest.
Hey,
You need to rest up, man.
All right. Y'all have a good week. Good discussion, brother.
Appreciate you coming through.
All right, man. Y'all take care.
All
Yeah,
right,
boy,
be good, man. All right, man. Thanks, EGore, for coming through, man.
I really
Appreciate it.
appreciate you, kid. No doubt. No
And
doubt.
like
We
I
gotta
said,
go.
you already y'all always welcome to come through. We have enough room for 10 people to be on the panel.
Oh
At
wait,
some
listen,
certain times,
but you brought
we
the
had 10
conversation
people,
though.
huh?
You brought the conversation though. Like, yo, we should have this on the format. When I told you politics, she was like, I was like,
No,
man,
I only said that because I have my books been designed by core subject areas. So
right,
I was basing it on that. So a lot of times
right.
I post they're dealing with those certain subject matters. I'm open for anything. If
Oh,
anybody
okay.
want to guide it, I ain't gonna say I'm the expert in. I'm not the expert in any of this stuff, whatever.
Can
But
we
I
all
do realize we need to have these conversations.
Well, I'm glad you peeped. I'm glad you peeped that back and forth. I mean, because like, we was just going back and forth, like no big
Yeah,
deal, whatever, whatever. He respected the game. I respected his game.
yeah.
It's like, yo,
And
I
that's
got
what
my
it's all
voice.
about. It wasn't like y'all was gonna be bludgeoned toward each other and beat
Not
each
at
other
all.
down and taking it personal. But
Not at all.
what it told people is, yeah, you can have a discussion and go back and forth and pull out some points, and you can learn from it. And we have to understand that we can learn from each other
Exactly. Exactly.
all the
Exactly.
time.
Exactly. I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Oh, no problem, man. You got work in the morning?
No, sir.
Okay, so you good. You good.
I'm,
Yeah, that makes
I'm all set.
I can't
the
say that
man
for
about
myself. These kids had a long
You
weekend.
at
They're gonna
work?
be ready to cut up.
Oh my goodness, son. Listen, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me, man.
No problem, man. We'll
Sir,
connect
thank you for
whatever.
having me, my guy.
Say it again.
Thank you for having me, man.
Man, hey, the pleasure is ours, man. Always, man.
Oh, man,
Always.
look, man. Look. This is a topic. This topic will remain, my guy.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Topic
And
will
I think this and it spawns off. It certainly has the ability to spawn off so many other things because I think the next frontier for education, and they might be able to speak to this more so than anybody. I think a lot of people are going to start homeschooling their kids because of uh, the left, if you will. They're moving towards alternative lifestyle teaching and pushing
Right.
in elementary schools. So I think parents are just going to say, you know what? If we can't get school choice through vouchers or whatever other system that may come down the pipe, we just gonna pull our kids out of school. And once people start doing that, there goes the funding. So enough people do it, the system collapses and they're compelled to come up with something else.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and you have students still, you have parents still pushing toward that because they cut back on the virtual learning programs. They still have like e-learning, and so there are some parents like, yo, listen, I don't even want my kids to go back
Right.
like that.
Right.
So you still had that, but then you still had the parents say, shit, they got to get the fuck out of here. They got to go to school or whatever. They got to go.
I'm leaving my town. I'm
Yeah,
leaving my
so
town.
it you know it's always going to be give or take. So it depends on the parent, the individual, and we are trying to work toward this process together because it's a lot going on. So many different factors going on in this world today.
Yes, sir.
So,
Hey, listen, man. I appreciate those who were interacting with the content. Though I enjoyed that.
because you know the one thing lately in seemed like the last couple months we've been having different guests and stuff like that. So we really haven't had too many shows where we had just the regular open court. So I know a lot of people dying to get back in here. So we don't got nothing scheduled for next week. So we're gonna have to come with some fire so people can come in and so Herb, you better start thinking, man, about
Hey.
talking points for next week.
Hey, please, man. Hey, let your man know. Like I said, this conversation is hot. It's gonna be
Yeah.
hot for a minute. So, hey,
Yeah.
man, I
And-
enjoy it.
And it's always, like I said, it's open that people can come in and even if you don't want to show your face, you can have an avatar or whatever. Like
Oh man,
keep
please,
it
man.
going, keep having these conversations going. I would prefer you to have your face showing because it lets you know you're real and authentic. But
Right.
a lot of people got a lot of other shit going on,
We
and they
don't want
got
to see
bigger
this mug,
bigger
Mike. We
fan
don't want to
people.
see this mug, my guy. Babe, you ain't got to be all on. You ain't got to be all on the camera. On you ain't got to be.
She trying to tell you it's time to wrap it up.
Hey, I appreciate
Yeah.
y'all, man. Thank you, man.
Oh,
All right,
no
man.
problem, man. Handle your business, man.
Well,
I'll
man.
get with you.
All right.
All right, peace.
No, we done, baby. We done.
All right, go, folks. We out. I hope everybody enjoyed it. And if you're one who wants to, and you're in the counselor's corner, and you want to have that platform face to face, hey, let's have it. Let's have more conversations like this. You know me, I'm always going to try to build it up, instigate it, and all that stuff. But I appreciate everybody who tuned in, and on to the next one. See you next week. I'm out. Peace.